Chapter 27:11. Duan Lingtian was dumbfounded when he heard Huan Er's voice transmission. How could he not see that this girl had the potential to be a bandit? Naturally, he knew Huan Er only said this because she did not have the right values. After all, she was inexperienced and did not know what to do and what not to do in the outside world. That's not right. Even if we want to take other people's celestial stones, we have to have a good reason. For example, they offended us first. That's why we came to their house to take their celestial stones. Since Duan Lingtian knew Huan Er did not have the right values, he was trying to guide her to the right path. If she chose the wrong path, not only would she be destroyed, but many people would also be implicated. I understand. As long as they don't provoke me, I won't take their celestial stones. However, if they provoke me, I'll take their celestial stones. Huan Er nodded after listening to Duan Lingtian's persuasion. But wasn't it too impulsive of me to kill those people from the Nangong clan? I didn't even ask them for their celestial stones. Huan Er was filled with regret when she recalled the 4 people from the Nangong clan whom she had killed earlier. Who said you didn't ask them for their celestial stones? After you killed them, they left their spatial rings behind. However, I kept them in my possession. Their celestial stones are in their spatial rings. Don't tell me you don't know what a spatial ring is? When Duan Lingtian realized she did not even have a spatial ring and did not know what a spatial ring was, he began to patiently explain to her how to establish and remove the claim of ownership on a spatial ring. Then he passed a spatial ring to Huan. There are 100,000 prominent celestial stones in this spatial ring. Take them and spend them, Duan Lingtian said with a smile on his face. All right. After putting on the storage ring, Huan Er stared at it as if she was looking at a treasure. It was as if the storage ring on her finger was more important than Duan Lingtian. You two, please wait here for a moment. I'll go look for my father. After arranging Duan Lingtian's room in the Qi clan's main hall, Qiyu left. As for the Qi family elder behind him, he stayed behind to entertain Duan Lingtian and Duan Lingtian, instructing the Qi family servants to serve them tea. When Qiyu went to find his father, the current head of the Qi family. On the other side, the Lu family was also in a mess. Eldest young master is dead. Furthermore, he was killed by an outsider. That outsider is most likely someone from the Qi family. The entire Liu clan was in an uproar. Meanwhile, the clan leader of the Liu clan, who was also the father of the Liu clan's first young master, Liu Wenbin, who was killed by Duan Lingtian, immediately gathered the Liu clan's high-ranking officials for a meeting. At the same time, his father and the old ancestor of the Lu family were invited to the meeting. The Lu family had 2 heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials. One of them was the clan leader of the Lu family's father, the former clan leader of the Lu family. The other person was the person with the highest seniority in the Lu family. He was the old ancestor of the Lu family. What? Bin Er is dead. The clan leader of the Lu family's father, the former clan leader of the Lu family, was furious when he heard that his grandson had been killed. It was as though he could not wait to go to the Qi family and seek revenge from the purple-clad young man who had killed his grandson. Old ancestor, what should we do about this? The clan leader of the Lu family did not bother to discuss this matter with the other high-ranking members of the Lu family. He immediately looked at the old ancestor of the Lu family and asked for his opinion. As long as the old ancestor made the decision, nobody would object. Your father and I will go with you to the Qi family. If that person hasn't left the Qi family's estate, we'll kill him to avenge your son. If that person has left, we'll go to the Qi family to denounce them. However, I'm afraid we won't be able to settle this matter. You must be mentally prepared for this. The old ancestor of the Lu family said. I understand. The clan leader of the Lu family nodded bitterly. He knew very well that there was no evidence to prove that his son had been killed by the Qi family. Even if there was evidence to prove that his son had been killed by the Qi family, the Lu family would not go to war with the Qi family because of his son. If the 2 families were to go to war, both sides would suffer losses. At that time, there would be outsiders who would take advantage of the situation to interfere. This was not something the Lu family and the Qi family wanted to see. Naturally, if there was evidence to prove that his son was killed by someone hired by the Qi family, although the Lu family could not go to war with the Qi family, they could use this to threaten the Qi family and force them to hand over Qiyu, the second young master of the Qi family, who was the most outstanding among the younger generation in the Qi family. They would use Qiyu's life in exchange for his son's life. It's good that you understand. The old ancestor of the Lu family continued to say, in that case, let's go to the Qi family now. The later we go, the more likely it is that your son's murderer has left the Qi family. Yes, said the patriarch of the Lu clan. Immediately after, the patriarch of the Lu clan and the patriarch of the Lu clan left the Lu clan's residence and headed towards the Qi clan's residence in a menacing manner. Meanwhile, in the Qi family's estate, Duan Lingtian and Huan sat together in the main hall of the Qi family's estate. At this moment, apart from the Qi family's elder and Qiyu, there were two other people sitting in front of them. One of them was a middle-aged man who was dressed in brocade robes. His face was as fair as jade. The other person was an old man with white hair and brows who was dressed in gray robes. He had a youthful appearance. However, at this moment, Qiyu, the Qi family's elder, and the other two people were kneeling on the ground. Their bodies were trembling as they knelt on the ground with their heads lowered. A faint chill could be felt on the ground where they were kneeling. It was as though they had just been baptized by snow. An overarching heavenly supreme celestial. An overarching heavenly supreme celestial. The woman with the veil is an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Qiyu knelt on the ground. He was originally elegant, but now he was in a sorry state. Other than fear, there was only fear on his face. He had thought the clan leader of the Lu family was here. Even if his father, the clan leader of the Qi family, and the old ancestor of the Qi family could not kill the purple-clad young man due to fear of the purple-clad young man's strength and background, he should be able to save the 1,000,000 prominent celestial stones. What he did not expect was that the clan leader of the Qi family was here. When his father, the clan leader of the Qi clan, and the old ancestor of the Qi clan arrived in the hall, their celestial origin energies surged out of their bodies as they extended their divine consciousness in an attempt to probe the purple-clad young man and the veiled woman standing next to him. The woman had only raised her hand, and a gust of cold wind blew past. Half of the bodies of his father, the clan leader of the Qi family, and the old ancestor of the Qi family were frozen to the ground. It was as though their bodies had become one with the main hall, and they could not move at all. The woman only stopped when the purple-clad young man spoke. His father, the clan leader of the Qi family, and the old ancestor of the Qi family regained their freedom. However, after regaining their freedom, the two of them collapsed on the ground because their lower bodies had been frozen for a short period of time, causing them to be unable to react quickly. When they regained their senses, they struggled to kneel in front of the woman and apologized profusely. I didn't know you were an overarching heavenly supreme celestial, my lady. Please forgive us. At that time, Qiyu and the Qi family's elder had also knelt on the ground in fear and apologized profusely. At this moment, Qiyu finally realized what was going on. As it turned out, the purple-clad young man was not the strongest among them, but the veiled woman. I didn't expect Huan to really be an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Although Duan Lingtian had suspected Huan was an overarching heavenly supreme celestial, he had assumed she was a peak great overarching golden celestial. It was only when Huan had easily captured the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials that he realized Huan's strength was not as great. Huan was really an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. 1,000,000 prominent celestial stones. Have you prepared them? Do you have the map as well? Duan Lingtian asked as he glanced at Qiyu indifferently. I'll prepare them right away. Qiyu hurriedly replied. At the same time, he glanced at his father, the clan leader of the Qi family. His father hastily took out a spatial ring that contained enough celestial stones and handed it to Duan Lingtian. My lord, there are 300,000 prominent celestial stones and 70,000 supreme celestial stones in here, the clan leader of the Qi family said. Duan Lingtian nodded. 70,000 supreme celestial stones? Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. After establishing ownership over the spatial ring, he glanced at its contents. Yes, there are indeed 70,000 supreme celestial stones. Duan Lingtian, what's a supreme celestial stone? Didn't you ask for 1,000,000 supreme celestial stones? Why did he only give you 370,000 supreme celestial stones? Although she was inexperienced, she still knew the basics of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Her mother had taught her this before. Upon hearing her words, the 4 members of the Qi family were dumbfounded. The clan leader of the Qi family stammered as he knelt in front of Kerr. His body trembled violently, and he did not know what to say. He thought the overarching heavenly supreme celestial was trying to prank him. After all, a supreme celestial stone was equivalent to 10 prominent celestial stones. This was common knowledge in the Devata realms. Clan leader of the Qi family, there's no need to worry. She just doesn't know that a supreme celestial stone is equivalent to 10 prominent celestial stones. The clan leader of the Qi family sighed in relief when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. However, he still found it hard to believe that an overarching heavenly supreme celestial was unaware that a supreme celestial stone was equivalent to 10 prominent celestial stones. Because in his opinion, that was common sense that couldn't be more basic. Chapter 27:12. I see. Realization dawned on her after listening to Duan Lingtian's explanation. Don't you use celestial stones to cultivate? Duan Lingtian asked with a wry smile on his face. In his opinion, since Huan was an overarching heavenly supreme celestial, she must have used celestial stones to cultivate. Otherwise, how could she have attained such a cultivation level in just a short 100 years? Previously, when Duan Lingtian probed Huan with his divine consciousness, he could sense the aura of her flesh and blood. Huan was no older than 100 years old, just like him. No need. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's question, Kerr shook her head innocently. Upon hearing her words, the 4 members of the Qi clan were speechless again. She did not use celestial stones? How on earth did this little grandaunt cultivate? How could she become an overarching heavenly supreme celestial without using celestial stones? Huan, won't your cultivation be slow if you don't use celestial stones? Duan Lingtian frowned and said, that shouldn't be the case. Your mother would have given you celestial stones to cultivate. Normally speaking, she should have given you immortal stones and medicinal pills to assist in your cultivation. After all, without celestial stones and pills, your cultivation speed would be slow. Although Duan Lingtian did not know what kind of person Huan's mother was, he was certain that she was not an ordinary person. However, since Huan's mother had left behind an illusory realm to trap Duan Lingtian, it meant she was not an ordinary person. Even if she was a celestial beast, there was no doubt she was not an ordinary celestial beast. It was impossible for a celestial beast like her to not give her daughter celestial stones and pills to cultivate. Mother gave me pills to cultivate, and the medicinal efficacy of the pills is still in my body. Moreover, she also gave me this. However, this isn't a celestial stone. Huan's expression was still as innocent as ever when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. As she spoke, she pulled down the necklace on her neck, revealing the pendant of the necklace to everyone, including Duan Lingtian. The pendant of the necklace was a small, completely enclosed, circular box. She pressed a button on the side of the box, causing it to open. A bright light flashed, dazzling Duan Lingtian and the others. Bush, 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 bush. As soon as she opened the small, round box, a bright light flashed from within, and a vast amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy that was close to liquefying gushed out of the small box. In the blink of an eye, it was like a vast ocean that swept through the entire Qi clan's great hall. It was as though the main hall of the Qi clan had turned into a holy land for cultivation in an instant. Isn't the spiritual energy of heaven and earth a little too exaggerated? Duan Lingtian was dumbfounded when he sensed the Qi family's hall filled with heaven and earth spiritual energy. The heaven and earth spiritual energy in the Qi clan's main hall was 1,000 times denser than the spiritual energy in the hidden dragon abyss in the 9 Spectres County Governor's Mansion. He tried to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to cultivate, but found that he had reached the limit of what he could absorb. In other words, with his current cultivation base, it would be a waste for him to cultivate in such a place. Although the heaven and earth spiritual energy was more abundant, there was a limit to how much heaven and earth spiritual energy one could absorb when one's cultivation base was at a certain level. Just like now, Duan Ling Tian had encountered such a situation. Even an overarching heavenly supreme celestial would be able to cultivate in such an environment, right? Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. It did not matter if an overarching heavenly supreme celestial was in a cultivation environment like this or a cultivation environment that was much better than the one they were in right now. After all, there was a limit to how much heaven and earth spiritual energy one could absorb. An overarching heavenly supreme celestial would be able to cultivate in such an environment. With such an environment, there was no need for an overarching heavenly supreme celestial to fight for a better cultivation environment. This was because the effect of cultivating in such an environment was the same for an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Of course, if a celestial high immortal were to cultivate in such an environment, he would not be able to reach his limit. He could still strive for a better cultivation environment. That's right. There's also the cultivation method. I almost forgot. In the Devata realms, the higher the grade of one's cultivation method, the faster one can absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy. With this thought in mind, Duan Ling Tian felt as though he was a frog at the bottom of a well. He also knew that the assumption in his heart was completely based on the foundation of cultivating the yellow grade cultivation method. Moreover, this energy is coming from the crystal in the small round box on her necklace. It's filling the entire hall with the heaven and earth spiritual energy. If she were to absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy from the crystal, Duan Ling Tian said. Duan Ling Tian did not dare to continue thinking about it. Even if Huan O was an overarching heavenly supreme celestial and cultivated a heaven-grade cultivation method, she should still be able to absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy from the crystal, right? Huan, close it. Upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Huan closed the small round box on the necklace and severed the connection between the crystal and the outside world. As a result, the Qi clan's great hall was no longer filled with heaven and earth spiritual energy. Because of this, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Qi family's main hall became thinner and thinner. Although she had closed the box, she could not help but sigh. However, Duan Ling Tian was able to clearly see what was inside. It was a crystal that was completely transparent. It was quite similar to the diamond in his previous life, but there were some subtle differences. Of course, the diamond itself had no spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Duan Ling Tian had already noticed this when he returned to earth. Therefore, the crystal was only somewhat similar to a diamond, but its nature was completely different. It could even be said that the difference was like heaven and earth. Immortal crystals. Those are immortal crystals. The Qi family ancestor, who had been greedily absorbing the liquid heaven and earth spirit energy in the Qi family's main hall, raised his head with an intoxicated expression when the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Qi family's main hall became thin. When he looked at the necklace on her neck again, his eyes were filled with greed and greed. Humph! The Qi family ancestor only regained his senses when he heard Duan Ling Tian's cold snort. His expression changed drastically as he hastily withdrew his gaze from the necklace. The other 3 members of the Qi family also regained their senses. They prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to make a sound. At this moment, they recalled something. The celestial crystal belonged to an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. You said that's a celestial crystal? As far as I know, even a supreme-grade celestial crystal wouldn't have such an effect, right? Duan Ling Tian asked as he looked at the Qi family ancestor indifferently. He knew about celestial crystals. He had read about celestial crystals in some memory celestial talismans. He knew that celestial crystals only appeared in supreme-grade celestial stone veins. Moreover, the chances of them appearing were much lower than supreme-grade celestial stones in prominent celestial stone veins. For this reason, one celestial crystal was worth 1,000 supreme-grade celestial stones. In fact, The heaven and earth spirit chi contained in one immortal crystal was at most equivalent to the heaven and earth spirit chi contained in 1 or 200 supreme-grade immortal stones. The celestial crystals mentioned here were only primitive celestial crystals. Above the supreme-grade celestial stone vein, there were low-grade celestial crystal veins that produced low-grade celestial crystals. At the same time, there was also a chance of middle-grade celestial crystals. Like immortal stones, immortal crystals were divided into low-grade immortal crystals, medium-grade immortal crystals, high-grade immortal crystals, and supreme-grade immortal crystals. However, the exchange rate of celestial crystals was completely different from that of celestial stones. The exchange rate between each grade of celestial stone was 1 to 10. One supreme-grade celestial stone was equivalent to 10 prominent celestial stones, 100 mediocre celestial stones, and 1,000 primitive celestial stones. The exchange rate between each grade of celestial crystal was 1 to 100. A supreme-grade celestial crystal was equivalent to 100 prominent celestial crystals, 10,000 mediocre celestial crystals, and 1 million primitive celestial crystals. According to Duan Lingtian's knowledge, the intermediate rank celestial kingdom, the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom, did not have any primitive celestial crystal veins. In fact, even the high-rank celestial kingdoms did not have primitive celestial crystal veins. Although the high-rank celestial kingdoms did not have primitive celestial crystal veins, the number of supreme-grade celestial stone veins they had was not something an intermediate-rank celestial kingdom or a low-rank celestial kingdom could compare to. "You're very wise, my lord." The Qi clan's old ancestor nodded in response to Duan Lingtian's question. Then he said, "If I'm not mistaken, the celestial crystal on Lord Overarching Heavenly Supreme Celestial's necklace is a divine celestial crystal that only appears once every 10,000 years in a supreme-grade celestial crystal veins." Divine crystal. As soon as the Qi clan's old ancestor finished speaking, the breathing of the other 3 members of the Qi clan quickened. To them, the divine crystal veins were extremely rare. The divine crystal was an existence that only existed in legends. It was something that could only be looked at but was out of reach. I, Qi Yunsheng, have no regrets now that I've seen and felt the power of the divine crystal. The clan leader of the Qi clan sighed emotionally. With the Qi clan's status and influence, we'll have no regrets even if we die now that we've seen the divine crystal. The Qi clan's old ancestor chimed in. Divine crystal? A supreme-grade celestial crystal veins that only appear once every 10,000 years. Upon hearing the Qi clan's old ancestor's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes widened in shock. Based on what he knew, in any of the 81 Devata realms, there would not be more than 10 supreme celestial crystal veins in the Devata realms. In other words, on average, one divine crystal would only appear once every 1,000 years in a Devata realm. Who's Huaner's mother? The phantom fox must not be an ordinary celestial beast. What a joke! How could an ordinary celestial beast leave a divine crystal for its daughter? Duan Lingtian could still remember. Chapter 27:13. There were a total of 81 Devata realms in the colossal world. There were no more than 10 supreme-grade celestial crystal veins in each Devata realm. A supreme-grade celestial crystal vein would take 10,000 years to produce a divine crystal. In other words, on average, it would take at least 1,000 years for a divine crystal to form in each Devata realm. Based on this, one could easily imagine how precious a divine crystal was. However, Huan actually had a divine crystal in her possession. She's not simple. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly. Duan Lingtian was still thinking about Huan's background when he heard the divine crystal. At this moment, a loud voice rang in the air. The clan leader of the Liu clan, Liu Quan, has come with the old ancestor of the Liu clan and the former clan leader of the Liu clan to visit the clan leader of the Qi clan and the old ancestor of the Qi clan. This resounding voice was extremely penetrating. As it spread throughout the entire Qi family mansion, it also reached the main hall of the Qi family mansion. It's the clan leader of the Liu clan, Liu Quan. The Liu clan is here. Qi Yunsheng, the clan leader of the Qi clan, narrowed his eyes slightly. But the Liu clan is here to denounce us for the death of Liu Wenbin, the first young master of the Liu clan. Qi Yu, the second young master of the Qi clan, said in a low voice as he looked at Duan Lingtian and Huan. However, a hint of schadenfreude could be seen in the depths of Qi Yu's eyes. In his opinion, the people from the Liu clan were digging their own graves by coming here. Even the clan leader of the Qi clan and the old ancestor of the Qi clan who were kneeling on the ground thought the Liu clan was digging their own graves. In fact, they were already imagining things. After the powerhouses from the Liu clan killed the people from the Liu clan, the Qi clan would be able to annihilate the Liu clan in one fell swoop. From then on, the Qi clan would dominate Qi Liu City. At that time, Qi Liu City would have to change its name. After all, the Liu clan would be gone. The Liu clan? Just in time. Duan Lingtian rose to his feet as his celestial origin energy surged out of his body. Together with the Devata artifact, the seven orifices exquisite sword, his celestial origin energy formed a myriad of seven-colored sword rays on the surface of his body before he cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic. Sword formation. 13 green lotus swords. At the same time, the thousands of sword radiances on the surface of Duan Lingtian's body converged into a sword array. They circled around his body and brought out a dozen phantoms. Finally, they gathered together. The sword array formed by the convergence of seven-colored sword radiances suddenly burst into light and illuminated the entire Qi family's main hall. In an instant, the entire Qi family hall seemed to be immersed in a sea of seven colors. What a powerful force! This purple-clad young man is no weaker than an ordinary heaven-rank great overarching golden celestial. The hearts of the Qi family's patriarch and old ancestor shuddered. This was especially true for the head of the Qi clan. If he were to fight the current Duan Lingtian, he knew that he had no chance of winning. At most, he would be able to fight the Duan Lingtian to a draw. He's still concealing his strength? At this time, Qi Yu and the Qi family elder also vaguely realized this point. Although Duan Lingtian had unleashed his full strength, the clan leader and the old ancestor of the Qi clan were not on guard at all. This was because they thought Duan Lingtian was accumulating his strength to deal with the Liu clan's members who were charging at them. Naturally, the reason they were not on guard was mostly because of the veiled woman sitting next to Duan Lingtian. This woman was an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. It would be easy for her to kill them. For this reason, it did not cross their minds that Duan Lingtian was making such a big fuss just to kill them. Bush. The clan leader and supreme elder of the Qi clan finally realized that Duan Lingtian had been accumulating his strength for the sake of attacking them. Horror dawned on their faces. They instinctively wanted to fight back. Alas, before they could even muster their celestial origin energies, Duan Lingtian's seven-colored sword formation had already shrouded them and killed them. Blood flowed like a river in the Qi clan's main hall. The clan leader of the Qi clan, the old ancestor of the Qi clan, Qi Yu, and the old ancestor of the Qi clan were all killed by Duan Lingtian. Huan was taken aback by Duan Lingtian's actions. She asked curiously, Duan Lingtian, didn't you tell me there's no need to take their celestial stones and kill them if they didn't provoke us? What are you? Was not bothered by the bloody scene. She was more concerned about Duan Lingtian's actions. Clearly, Duan Lingtian's actions were different from what he had taught her. You're right, Huan. After killing the 4 people from the Qi clan, Duan Lingtian looked at Huan and said, I killed them not because they provoked us, but because they know you have the divine crystal. Once the divine crystal in your possession is exposed, both you and I will attract a fatal calamity. After all, many people will want to take it away from you. Duan Lingtian's expression was solemn when he spoke. A man's wealth was his fault. After living 2 lives, Duan Lingtian knew this very well. For this reason, Duan Lingtian had decided to kill the 4 members of the Qi clan who knew about the divine crystals in her possession. He wanted to eliminate all potential threats before it was too late. Initially, when the clan leader of the Qi clan handed over the 1 million prominent celestial stones, he had no intention of making things difficult for the Qi clan. Unfortunately, the development of events was often beyond his control. Due to the divine crystal, he had no choice but to do this. He did not want Huan's hands to be stained with blood because he did not want a young girl like Huan to have too much blood on her hands. It was better for him to do these things. Take what's mine. This. Touched the pendant of the necklace around her neck. A hint of coldness could be seen on her face as she said, "This is something my mother left behind for me. I'll kill anyone who tries to take it away from me." The world is big. Duan Lingtian sighed and said, "There are many powerful people in this world. You can't stop them if they want to take what's yours. For this reason, what we need to do now is to keep the secret of the divine crystal a secret." Nodded and said, "Yes, my mother told me that there are many people stronger than her in this world. I'm still not as strong as my mother was when she left." Huan nodded. Duan Lingtian continued to say, "For this reason, don't open the small box on your necklace in front of others. Once you open it, the secret of the divine crystal will be known to others. Even if those people don't have the ability to take the divine crystal from you, they'll spread the news. Once the news reaches the ears of those who are stronger than you won't be able to stop that person from snatching your divine crystal. You can only watch as he takes it away." Duan Lingtian nodded. Huan nodded obediently. It was obvious she understood the severity of the matter. At the same time, Duan Lingtian raised his hand and collected the spatial rings of the 4 people from the Qi clan. His eyes lit up when he saw the wealth in the 4 people's spatial rings. There are more than 100,000 supreme celestial stones in the Qi clan's spatial rings. However, there are very few low-grade celestial stones. There are also tens of thousands of supreme celestial stones in the clan leader of the Qi clan's possession. Duan Lingtian did not care about the wealth in the spatial rings of the Qi clan's second young master, Qi Yu, and the elder from the Qi clan. "Come with me to meet the people from the Liu clan," Duan Lingtian said as he looked at Huan. "Before we leave Qi Liu City, we can still make a fortune from the Liu clan." Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes, and a hint of a smile appeared on his face as he rose into the air. "Are we going to rob them of their celestial stones?" Huan's eyes lit up immediately. "Yes." Duan Lingtian nodded. "Moreover, how many celestial stones we can rob will depend on your performance. As long as you can subdue them, we'll be able to ask for as many celestial stones as we want." As Duan Lingtian and Huan approached the Lu family had just entered the Qi family's estate. Although the voice of the head of the Lu family had already spread throughout the entire Qi family mansion, no one from the Qi family rose into the air to welcome the head of the Lu family. Because everyone in the Qi family knew, at this time, it was time for the Qi family's patriarch and the Qi family's ancestor to make a move. Otherwise, no one would be able to suppress the menacing Lu family. "Who are you?" Due to this reason, the group of Liu clan members led by the clan leader of Liu clan, Liu Quan, could not help but frown when they saw the 2 unfamiliar faces. None of them expected that, at this time, the people who came to greet them were actually not the Qi family patriarch or the Qi family ancestor. Instead, it was a brat who looked like he was still wet behind the ears and a woman wearing a veil. A veil? At this moment, Liu Quan, the clan leader of Liu clan, seemed to have thought of something. His eyes narrowed as he looked at Duan Lingtian and Huan coldly. "You're the man and woman who killed my son?" The other members of the Liu clan regained their senses immediately. They stared at Duan Lingtian and Huan as though they were facing a formidable enemy. The fact that these 2 people dared to greet them at this time meant that they were either here to die or were not afraid of them. Based on their expressions, it did not seem like the former. "So, you're the ones who killed my grandson, Lu Wenbin?" The clan leader of Liu clan, the former clan leader of Liu clan, was one of the only 2 heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials in the Liu clan. When he looked at Duan Lingtian and Huan, killing intent surged out of his body. Chapter 27:14. Duan Lingtian's expression remained calm as he faced the hostile gazes of the people from the Liu clan. It was as though he would remain calm even if Mount Tai were to collapse in front of him. Huan Duan Lingtong called out softly before he said indifferently, "Show them your strength." HM? The people from the Liu clan were stunned when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. They instinctively turned to look at Huan who was standing next to Duan Lingtian. At this moment, a chilling aura rose from Huan eyes. In the next moment, Aura waved her hand, and a terrifying wave of cold energy appeared in the air. Before the people from the Liu clan could react, the cold energy had already shrouded them. However, Huan knew when to stop. The cold energy shrouded the people from the Liu clan below their waists. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Before the people from the Liu family could react, they were frozen into ice sculptures from the waist down. Waves of cold air rose from the void beneath their feet. The cold air became denser, and finally condensed into ice. Boom! Rumble! In the blink of an eye, accompanied by a series of rumbling sounds that seemed to have come out of nowhere, the waves of cold air that had condensed into ice in the void finally condensed and turned into a vast ice platform. A platform that was completely condensed and formed from ice. As soon as the platform appeared, it was put to good use. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of heavy objects crashing into each other reverberated in the air. The people from the Liu clan, whose lower bodies were frozen, could no longer maintain their celestial origin energy. As a result, they slowly fell from the sky and smashed onto the ice platform. This was due to the fact that they did not fall quickly. Otherwise, with such a smash, half of their bodies that were frozen into ice sculptures would definitely be smashed into smithereens. At that time, they would all become cripples with half of their bodies paralyzed. Even so, the people from the Liu clan who landed on the ice platform were still in a daze. It took them a long time to regain their senses. Swoosh, shwa. The first to regain their senses were the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Liu clan. They were the ancestor and the former clan leader of the Liu clan. Horror dawned on them as they looked at the veiled woman in unison. Their eyes were filled with fear and panic. Overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Overarching heavenly supreme celestial. This woman is an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. At this moment, the two heavenly realm great overarching golden celestials from the Liu family were also shocked. As heaven realm great overarching golden immortals, they could not react to the means displayed by the veiled woman standing next to the purple-clad young man. By the time he reacted, he had already been struck. This also allowed them to confirm one thing: she was at least an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Even a peak golden immortal did not have the ability to put them in such a sorry state. Overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Such an existence was enough to annihilate the Liu family's group of people with the flip of a palm. Lord Overarching Heavenly Supreme Celestial, we're here for the Qi clan. Please forgive us for our earlier offense. Please forgive us, my lord. The old ancestor of the Liu family and the former clan leader of the Liu family bowed and apologized to Huan. Their bodies trembled violently as they apologized to Huan. Even the former clan leader of the Liu family, who had threatened to avenge his grandson earlier, had no choice but to admit defeat at this moment. Although it was important to avenge his grandson, it also depended on the situation. Based on the current situation, it was impossible for him to avenge his grandson. For this reason, he had no choice but to give up despite his reluctance. After all, if he did not give up, he might lose his life. Moreover, even if he lost his life, he might not be able to avenge his grandson. After living for so many years, it was only natural for him to know what was more important. Overarching heavenly supreme celestial? This woman is an overarching heavenly supreme celestial? The patriarch of the Liu family and the elders of the Liu family were shocked when they heard the words of the Liu family's old ancestor. It was as if a storm had set off in their hearts. They were no longer surprised when they saw the old ancestor of the Liu family and the former clan leader of the Liu family kneeling before the veiled woman. After all, she was an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Her strength far surpassed the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials of the Liu family. Greetings, Lord Overarching Heavenly Supreme Celestial. Greetings, Lord overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Under the lead of Liu Quan, the clan leader of the Liu family, the elders of the Liu family bowed respectfully to Huan, from the beginning until the end. They no longer looked as arrogant as before. On the contrary, their bodies trembled violently like the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Liu clan. An overarching heavenly supreme celestial. An overarching heavenly supreme celestial. An overarching heavenly supreme celestial could easily kill all of them in a fit of rage. Duan Lingtian, how did I do? At this moment, Huan looked at Duan Lingtian with a smile on her face as though she was asking for credit for her actions. Good. You did well, Huan. Duan Lingtian patted Huan's head with a smile and said, Huan, remove the energy that froze them. All right. Huan nodded obediently. Then she raised her hand and a gust of wind blew past. As the gust of wind blew past, apart from the ice platform that was hovering in the air, the frozen bodies of the people from the Liu family returned to normal. However, they were still emitting a chilling aura. The two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Liu family were the first to recover. As soon as they recovered, they knelt in front of Huan and looked at Duan Lingtian with fear and uneasiness in their eyes. Perhaps, the purple-clad young man was not as strong as them. However, based on what they had seen earlier, they could tell that the purple-clad young man in front of them was a terrifying existence. After all, the purple-clad young man was the leader of the terrifying woman in the veil. If the purple-clad young man had asked for their deaths, the woman would not have shown them any mercy. Thud. After the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Liu family knelt in front of Duan Lingtian and Huan, the clan leader of the Liu family and the elders from the Liu family also knelt on the ice platform. Clan leader Liu, you're right. When the Liu clan members all knelt down, Duan Lingtian inadvertently glanced at the Liu clan's patriarch, Liu Quan, and said indifferently, your son, the Liu clan's eldest young master, Liu Wenbin, was indeed killed by me. If Patriarch Liu wants to avenge your son, you can make a move now. When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, he looked at Liu Quan meaningfully. I wouldn't dare. Liu Quan lowered his head and shook his head in panic when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. It was as though asking him to attack Duan Lingtian was as difficult as asking him to kill Duan Lingtian. In fact, Liu Quan did not think that asking him to attack Duan Lingtian was any different from asking him to kill Duan Lingtian. What a joke! Perhaps, the purple-clad young man was not as strong as him. However, the purple-clad young man seemed to be the only one who had the cultivation base of an overarching heavenly supreme celestial as well. If he attacked the purple-clad young man, he would be killed by the woman before he could even touch the purple-clad young man. Does this mean you don't want to avenge your son, clan leader Liu? Duan Lingtian asked again. No, I won't avenge him. My unfilial son deserved to die for offending you, my lord. Thank you, my lord, for helping me clean up the mess. Thank you, my lord, for helping me clean up the mess. LV Quan was just about to say, no, I won't. However, when he thought about it, he felt it was inappropriate. He quickly changed his words and thanked Duan Lingtian instead. What about you? Based on what you said earlier, Liu Wenbin is your grandson? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at Liu Quan's father, the former clan leader of the Liu clan. My unfilial grandson was blind to have offended you, my lord. Thank you, my lord, for helping me clean up the mess. The former clan leader of the Liu clan had always been extremely unwilling in his heart. He also knew that when one was under someone else's roof, one had no choice but to lower one's head. Following his son, he repeatedly thanked Duan Lingtian. Very good. Duan Lingtian grinned and did not beat around the bush as he said, everyone from the Liu clan, you should thank us instead. HM? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the people from the Liu clan were so angry that they almost vomited blood. The two men in front of them had forced them to kneel, and yet, they were still being asked to thank them? Although they felt indignant, they did not dare to show it on their faces. Earlier, I killed two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Qi clan. I'm sure this is good news for everyone from the Liu clan, right? Duan Lingtian said. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the people from the Liu clan straightened their backs. Although they were still kneeling on the ground, their backs were as straight as javelins. My lord, are you serious? Liu Quan asked with bright eyes and hurried breathing. At this moment, not only was he no longer feeling indignant, but the resentment he felt for not being able to avenge his son had disappeared as well. Is there a need for me to lie to you? Duan Lingtan glanced at Liu Quan indifferently and said, speaking of which, I've helped the Liu clan this time. From now on, the Liu clan will be the only clan in Qiliu City. Indeed, their auras are no longer there. At the same time, the divine consciousness of the two great overarching golden celestials from the Liu family confirmed that the aura of the two great overarching golden celestials was gone. It was as though they had vanished into thin air. Chapter 27:15. My lord, the entire Liu clan is grateful for your kindness. After receiving confirmation from the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials, Liu Quan, the clan leader of the Liu clan, quickly bowed and apologized to Duan Lingtian. A hint of joy could be seen on his face. It was as though Duan Lingtian was his savior and not the one who had killed his son. Thank you, my lord. The group of Liu clan elders who followed behind the clan leader also expressed their gratitude to Duan Lingtian. At the same time, they could not suppress the excitement on their faces. They knew very well what the death of the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Qi clan meant. It meant the Qi clan would no longer be able to stop the Liu clan. The Liu clan would become the new ruler of Qiliu City. But I seem to have killed your son. Duan Lingtian glanced indifferently at Liu Quan as he brought up an old matter. My lord, you've given the Liu clan a chance to rule Qiliu City. Let alone a son. If you're willing, I can have a few more sons for you to kill. LV Quan was so excited that he lost his composure. He was not afraid of Duan Lingtian and Huan Er's strength. He was speaking from the bottom of his heart. If he could have used his son's death in exchange for the Liu clan's rule in Qiliu City, he would have killed his son with his own hands. In his eyes, the Liu clan's fate was sealed. He could always have another son. However, even if he lost the chance to rule Qiliu City, it would not happen again. He had his own thoughts on which was more important and which was more important. Duan Lingtian was speechless when he heard Liu Quan's words. He did not dwell on the matter since he did not think it was necessary. In Liu Quan's opinion, the clan's interest was more important than anything else. However, I've helped the Liu clan to get rid of the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Qi clan. Shouldn't the Liu clan do something about it? Duan Lingtian said with narrowed eyes. Of course, Liu Quan replied. Liu Quan answered as he looked at his father. Then, the two of them looked at the old ancestor of the Liu family. My lord, what do you want? As long as it is within the power of our Liu family, we will definitely cooperate. Liu family's old ancestor looked at Duan Lingtian and said seriously. First of all, I want the largest map that your Liu family can provide. That map must be very detailed. Duan Lingtian said lightly. Perhaps that kind of map could be found in the storage rings of the Qi family members who had died at his hands, but he was too lazy to look for it. This is a small matter. The old ancestor of the Liu family, who thought that Duan Lingtian had a difficult task for the Liu family, was relieved when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Sir, is there anything else you need? The ancestor of the Liu family continued to ask. Yes, there's one more thing. Duan Lingtian nodded. He glanced at the people from the Liu clan before he narrowed his eyes and said, the two of us will leave in 3 days. I want to see 1 million Supreme Celestial Stones in 3 days. 1 million Supreme-grade Immortal Stones. As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, everyone from the Liu family, including the Liu family's old ancestor, paled. My lord, the Liu clan's old ancestor said bitterly, the Liu clan can only come up with 300,000 to 400,000 Supreme Celestial Stones at once. If you give us more time, we might be able to come up with 500,000 or 600,000 Supreme Celestial Stones, but 3 days is too short. You said it yourself, it's your Liu family. Now that the two Heaven Realm great overarching golden immortals from the Qi family are dead, You can eat up the Qi family immediately. At that time, won't you be able to gather 1,000,000 supreme-grade celestial stones? Duan Lingtian said lightly. My lord, there is something you don't know. The old ancestor of the Lu clan took a deep breath before he mustered up his courage and said, for clans like the Lu clan and the Qi clan, at least half of the clan's wealth is in the hands of 2 heaven realm great overarching golden celestials. Since you've killed the 2 people from the Qi clan, I'm sure their spatial rings are in your hands as well. For this reason, almost half of the Qi clan's wealth is in your hands, my lord. The old ancestor of the Lu clan said. 800,000 supreme-grade celestial stones. Duan Lingtun waved his hand impatiently when he heard the old ancestor of the Lu clan's words. 800,000 supreme-grade celestial stones. I want to see it in 3 days. If I don't see it, I don't mind sending the 2 heaven realm great overarching golden celestials from the Qi clan to hell. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he ignored the shocked expressions of the people from the Lu clan and looked at Huan. The impatience on his face disappeared and was replaced by a smile. Hua, let's go. All right. Huan nodded obediently before she left with Duan Lingtun. Duan Lingtian and Huan's figures slowly disappeared from the sight of the people from the Lu clan. The people from the Lu clan watched as Duan Lingtian and Huan left. However, none of them dared to say a word, because they had all seen it. They knew the purple-clad young man had made a huge concession. Who are they? The former clan leader of the Lu clan muttered to himself after Duan Lingtian and Huan's figures had disappeared from sight. I don't know. Lu Quan shook his head when he heard his father's question. They must be outsiders. It might even be their first time in Qi Liu City. From today onward, Qi Liu City will cease to exist. Only Liu City will exist. The old ancestor of the Lu clan said with a scoff. Liu City. As soon as the old ancestor of the Lu clan finished speaking, the eyes of the Lu clan's people lit up like bright stars in the night sky, gorgeous and dazzling. Old ancestor, can we really gather 800,000 supreme-grade celestial stones in 3 days? Lu Quan could not help but pour cold water on the hopes of the people from the Lu clan. It doesn't matter if we can gather that many supreme-grade celestial stones or not. Didn't you see the Lord's attitude earlier? The old ancestor of the Lu clan said in a deep voice. Then, the old ancestor of the Liu clan looked at the former clan leader of the Liu clan and said, Liu Jiao, after we've taken over the Qi clan, you'll make a trip to the surrounding cities. Look for clans and sects that cooperate with the Liu clan and borrow as many supreme celestial stones as you can. Yes, old ancestor. The former clan leader of the Lu clan bowed respectfully. Although they were both heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials, the old ancestor of the Lu clan was much stronger than him. Moreover, the old ancestor of the Lu clan was much more senior than him. For this reason, he did not dare to be careless in front of the old ancestor of the Lu clan. Following that, the people from the Lu clan charged into the Qi clan's estate like hungry wolves pouncing on their prey. Since the Qi clan had lost their 2 most powerful heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials, the remaining high-ranking members of the Lu clan were no match for the 2 heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials. It did not take long before all the great overarching golden celestials in the Qi clan's estate were killed. On the other hand, there were no casualties on the Lu clan side. In just a day, the Qi clan that was supposed to be on par with the Lu clan was devoured by the Lu clan without any casualties. When news of this spread, it caused an uproar in Qi Liu City. The next day, the Lu clan made an announcement. From today onward, Qi Liu City would be renamed as Liu City. No one in Qi Liu City dared to object to this announcement. They're quite fast. I only hope they'll be able to hand over the 800,000 supreme-grade celestial stones on time. Duan Lingtian could not help but mutter to himself as he listened to the discussions in the restaurant. He was seated in a private room near the main hall of a restaurant in Liu City. Meanwhile, Huan who had removed her veil, sat across from Duan Lingtian as she swept through the dishes on the table. Although Huan had lost her image, she was still beautiful and flawless from every angle. Even Duan Ling Tian, who was as calm as a lake, could not help but stare at Huan from time to time. Brother Lingtian, I'm full. After about an hour, Huan wiped her greasy mouth and said to Duan Ling Tian with a smile, the food outside is delicious. Brother Lingtian, can you bring me out to eat every day? Alright, as long as you're happy. Duan Ling Tian nodded with a smile on his face. Duan Ling Tian was not surprised by the change in the way Huan addressed him. After leaving the Qi clan's estate yesterday, Duan Ling Tian had brought Huan around Qi Liu City to buy many things for her. During their shopping spree, they had encountered a few lovey-dovey couples. When Huan heard the way they addressed each other, she changed the way she addressed him. She no longer called him Duan Ling Tian. Instead, she called him Brother Ling Tian. Naturally, he knew the change in the way she addressed him did not mean anything. Huan was still the same Huan. She was still the same Huan who knew nothing about love. She was as pure as a piece of white paper. Even though the white paper was now stained with some colors, most of the places were still white and translucent. Since we're full, shall we go out for a walk? Duan Ling Tian asked with a smile on his face. Sure. I still have a lot of things I wanted to buy yesterday. Huan nodded like a chick pecking at rice. After that, Duan Ling Tian and Huan strolled around Qi Liu City for 2 days before they arrived at the entrance of the Liu clan's estate. Greetings, my lords. Greetings, my lords. When Duan Ling Tian and Huan arrived at the entrance of the Liu clan's estate, the high-ranking members of the Liu clan, whom Duan Ling Tian and Huan had met 3 days ago, were all present. They bowed humbly at Duan Ling Tian and Huan. Is everything ready? Duan Ling Tian asked as he looked at the old ancestor of the Liu clan. He had noticed 3 days ago that the old ancestor of the Liu clan was a member of the Liu clan. The old man was the leader of the Liu clan. My lord, everything is ready. Chapter 27:16. Duan Ling Tian nodded after he took the spatial ring from the Liu clan's old ancestor and performed the ownership claim on the spatial ring. Yes, there were 1 million supreme celestial stones. Apart from that, there was also a memory celestial talisman. A map of the memory celestial talisman? Duan Ling Tian's eyes brightened immediately. With just a thought, he took out the memory celestial talisman. After he sent his celestial origin energy into the memory celestial talisman, a map appeared in Duan Ling Tian's mind. The map covered the entire Cloudy Rock celestial kingdom, the neighboring celestial kingdoms, and even some distant regions. I'm currently in Qi Liu City. Qi Liu City is only 200,000 miles away from the capital of the Cloudy Rock celestial kingdom. This is the king city of King Qin's mansion. It's more than 1 million miles away from Qi Liu City. That's the 9 Spectres County and the Bloody Spectre City under King Qin's manor. After Duan Ling Tian used the memory celestial talisman, a map appeared in his mind. It allowed Duan Ling Tian to know his current location, his surroundings, and his surroundings. If I'm not mistaken, this map of the memory celestial talisman is extremely valuable. When the memory celestial talisman in Duan Ling Tian's hand disappeared, he regained his senses and looked at the old ancestor of the Liu clan meaningfully. In the Devata realms, maps were divided into ordinary maps and memory celestial talismans. The latter was extremely valuable because not many people were willing to spend so much time and effort to carve a map on a memory celestial talisman. Instead of spending so much time and effort on cultivating, one might as well spend it on cultivating. It was not worth it to carve a map. Naturally, this did not mean no one was willing to spend so much time and effort to carve a map. If that was the case, there wouldn't be a memory immortal talisman map that Duan Ling Tian had just used. Normally, only those who were limited by their talent and could not make any progress in their cultivation, and those who did not have the ability to easily earn immortal stones would spend a lot of time and energy to carve memory immortal talisman maps in order to earn a large amount of immortal stones. It was also because of this that Duan Ling Tian said that the memory immortal talisman map was very valuable. As long as my lord is satisfied. Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, the old ancestor of the Liu family heaved a sigh of relief and quickly responded. Ever since Duan Lingtian said he was the one who killed the two Heaven Realm great overarching golden celestials from the Qi clan 3 days ago, the old ancestor of the Lu clan had regarded Duan Lingtian as a peak great overarching golden celestial. He feared Duan Lingtian from the bottom of his heart. Naturally, even if he did not fear Duan Lingtian, he would not dare to act recklessly in front of Duan Lingtian since Huan was by his side. At most, he would secretly look down on Duan Lingtian. Now that we've obtained the item, it's time for us to leave this city. After Duan Lingtian put the spatial ring away, he looked at Huan, who had put her veil back on, and said with a faint smile on his face, "Leave this city?" Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Huan tugged at Duan Lingtian's sleeve and said with a pitiful look in her eyes, "Brother Lingtian, I haven't had enough fun yet. Why don't we play for a while longer? We'll leave after I've had enough fun?" The people from the Lu family were stunned when they saw Huan Er's expression. Was this the same overarching heavenly supreme celestial who had subdued and killed them with just a wave of his hand? Why does she look more like a little girl who hasn't grown up yet? It's fine if you don't want to leave. However, don't blame Brother Lingtian for not reminding you that the place we're going to is much more fun than this place. Duan Lingtian said with a smile. More fun than this place? Huan Er's eyes lit up. She waved her hand and sent out a wave of celestial origin energy that emitted a cold aura. The people from the Lu family were on guard. In just a blink of an eye, Huan and Duan Lingtian disappeared from the entrance of the Lu family's estate. "Brother Lingtian, let's go to a more fun place." Huan Er's voice rang in the ears of the people from the Lu family. All of a sudden, the people from the Lu family looked at each other and saw the shock and astonishment in each other's eyes. Was he really an overarching heavenly supreme celestial? Why did he sound like a playful child who had yet to grow up? "Sister, how strong do you think the purple-clad young man is? Is he an overarching heavenly supreme celestial as well?" Lu Quan, the clan leader of the Lu family, could not help but ask. "I don't know if he's an overarching heavenly supreme celestial or not. However, since he killed the two heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Qi family, it means he's at least a peak great overarching golden celestial." The Lu family's ancestor replied. "Most importantly," Lu Quan suddenly said. All of a sudden, the old ancestor of the Liu family narrowed his eyes as if he had thought of something. 3 days ago, when I probed them with my divine sense, I accidentally discovered that the aura of their flesh and blood was enough to prove that they were not even 100 years old. Less than 100 years old. As soon as the Lu family's ancestor finished speaking, the atmosphere fell silent again. Is this for real? One of them is at least a peak great overarching golden celestial, and the other is an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. The Lu family members present couldn't help but question in their hearts. They didn't dare to believe that the man and woman were actually less than 100 years old. 3 days ago, I thought I was mistaken. It seems like they're really less than 100 years old. Lu Quan's father, the former clan leader of the Lu family and the other heaven-rank great overarching golden celestial in the Lu family, sighed when he heard the Lu family's ancestors' words. His sigh dispelled the doubts in the others' minds. If the Lu family's ancestor was the only one who had said this, they could still suspect that he had been mistaken. However, even the former clan leader of the Lu family had said the same thing. Regarding this, they could only firmly believe it. Heavens! A peak great overarching golden celestial and an overarching heavenly supreme celestial less than 100 years old. Who are they? He must be from a big place. Let alone an overarching heavenly supreme celestial who's younger than 100 years old. We don't even have a peak great overarching golden celestial who's younger than 100 years old in the high-rank celestial kingdoms. I think so as well. They must be young disciples from powerful sects or clans that are superior to high-rank celestial kingdoms. It's our luck that we managed to unite Qi Liu City with them. There's no comparison. A young man who's not even 100 years old is strong enough to topple a clan that has existed for thousands of years. It's hard to imagine the power behind them. After Duan Lingtian and Huan left, The people from the Lu family discussed among themselves. In the end, they came to a consensus. Duan Lingtian and Huan were from powerful forces that were superior to high-rank celestial kingdoms. As for those forces, they were forces that they could only look at but not reach. Let alone the Liu clan, even the strongest imperial family in the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom, the Liu clan was not a match for those forces at all. I still don't understand. Why did they kill the people from the Qi family? Why did they help us? The old ancestor of the Lu family sighed. Then, under the watchful eyes of the people from the Lu family, he continued to say, think about it. Duan Lingtian and Huan killed the people from the Lu family and followed the people from the Qi family to the Qi family. There's no way the people from the Qi family wouldn't have probed them. Once we find out how strong they are, the Qi clan will definitely treat them as guests of honor. At that time, when our Lu clan goes looking for them, we will inevitably be killed by them. At that time, the Qi family will unify Qi Liu City. However, before we went to the Qi family, they had already killed the 2 heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Qi family. Is it because the Qi clan was blind and offended them, which is why they were killed? I have a feeling things aren't that simple. The people from the Qi family wouldn't be so reckless. The more the old ancestor of the Lu family spoke, the more confused he became. He had interacted with the people from the Qi family all his life. He knew the 2 heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Qi family were not reckless people. For this reason, he found it strange that the 2 mysterious young men would kill the 2 heaven-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Qi family to help the Lu family. You're right. It doesn't make sense. The people from the Lu family also felt that something was amiss when they heard the old ancestor of the Lu family's words. However, they did not expect the old ancestor of the Qi family. This time, the Qi family and not the Lu family were annihilated in Qi Liu City because the people from the Qi family knew something they were not supposed to know. Otherwise, the Lu family would not be the ones who would unify Qi Liu City. The old Qi Liu City was located outside of the current Liu City. Brother Ling Tian, where's the fun place we're going to? Is it far? After Huan brought Duan Ling Tian out of the city, her beautiful face was filled with eagerness. It was as though she could not wait to grow a pair of wings and fly to a more fun place. Huan, we're going to the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom now. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. To be more precise, we're going to the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. The Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was the nearest high-rank celestial kingdom to the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom. Duan Lingtian had chosen the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom as his next stop because he did not have a better choice. The high-rank Celestial Kingdom was only 3 million miles away from the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom. Chapter 27:17. Duan Lingtian and Huan left Qi Liu City and headed to the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Previously, Nangong Li had successfully escaped from Duan Lingtian and Huan, using the fleeting light shadow talisman that was inscribed by a celestial duke. He had been hiding in a cave in the mountains for a long time. At this moment, the savior he had been waiting for finally arrived. Father, why did you come here? Nangong did not expect his father, the clan leader of the Nangong clan, would come here personally. What's going on? Didn't I ask the 2 elders to follow you? Nangong's father, the clan leader of the Nangong clan, Nangong Zheng, was a middle-aged man with a medium build and an ordinary appearance. However, there was a hint of shrewdness in his eyes. He looked at Nangong with a slightly gloomy expression on his face. Because Nangong Li had only said in his immortal message talisman that he was in danger and had asked his father to send someone to fetch him, his father still did not know what had happened. Father, the 2 elders are dead. Nangong Ji and Nangong you are dead as well. Nangong Li smiled bitterly. The only reason I'm still alive is because of the floating light and shadow talisman you gave me. You used the floating light and shadow talisman? Nangong Zheng's eyes widened when he heard his son's words. Even the 2 Nangong clan elders' expressions changed slightly when they heard Nangong Li's words. The flickering light shadow talisman was an extremely precious immortal talisman. At the very least, it was extremely precious to the Nangong family. Even in the Nangong family, there were only 2 of them. Nangong clan had spent a lot of effort to obtain the 2 floating light and shadow talismans. One floating light and shadow talisman was in the possession of Nangong Zheng, the clan leader of the Nangong clan. Nangong Zheng had given the other floating light and shadow talisman to his son. Now that they heard that Nangong Li had used up the flickering light and shadow talisman, Nangong Zheng and the 2 Nangong elders behind him subconsciously felt their hearts ache. After all, the flickering light and shadow talisman was not an immortal talisman that could be easily obtained. What the hell happened? Nangong Zheng asked grimly. The 2 elders he had sent to his son had died, and his son had even used the flickering light and shadow talisman. This made him realize that his son had definitely encountered an extremely great danger and had directly used the flickering light and shadow talisman to escape. Before Nangong Zheng, Nangong Li did not dare to lie. As he spoke, he began to narrate the entire sequence of events. What? You did it all light and shadow, did it? Moreover, you're the one who provoked her. Upon hearing Nangong's words, Nangong Zheng raised his voice. His voice was filled with anger as he glared at Nangong Li. It was as though he could not wait to slap Nangong Li a few times. Father, she's not an ordinary woman. Not only is she powerful, but her appearance is definitely top-notch among all the women I've ever seen. The other women can only look up to her. Nangong Li retorted when he heard the anger in his father's voice. It just so happens that I used the floating image pearl when the 2 elders made their move. Although it only recorded a brief moment, I was able to see the woman's appearance. As soon as Nangong Li finished speaking, he brought out another floating image pearl and channeled his celestial origin energy into it. In the next moment, a trembling mirror image appeared in front of Nangong Zheng's eyes. It was frozen in the void. In the frozen mirror image, there were 2 figures. One was a purple-clad young man, and the other was a white-clad young woman. As soon as the mirror image froze, Nangong Zheng and the 2 elders from the Nangong clan behind him turned to look at the white-clad young woman in the mirror image. As soon as their eyes landed on her, it was difficult for them to look away. This was because the white-clad young woman was simply too perfect. Her eyebrows were as beautiful as a painting, and her eyes were as clear as water. She was tall and slender, and she was dressed in a thin white robe. The cold aura she exuded made her seem like a celestial. She was elegant and refined, and she looked like a celestial who had descended from the heavens. Her perfect cheeks, in particular, looked like they were created by the Creator. It was as though there were no flaws in her cheeks at all. Whether it was Nangong Zheng or the 2 elders from the Nangong clan behind him, they would never have imagined that they would be able to see such a scene before today. They had lived for half of their lives, and their hearts were as calm as water when it came to women. However, they would still be stunned by a woman's appearance. I didn't expect there to be such a perfect woman in this world. It's no wonder that young Master Li and the 2 boys couldn't hold themselves back. If it was when I was young, I definitely wouldn't be able to hold myself back either. After the 2 elders from the Nangong clan regained their senses, they sighed. Nangong Zheng sighed as well. How could he not have the same thoughts as well? I wonder, who on earth are that man and woman? One of the elders from the Nangong clan said with a fearful expression. No matter who they are, I won't let them off so easily for killing my people from the Nangong clan. Nangong Zheng said in a cold tone. After he finished speaking, he looked at Nangong Li and said, When we return this time, bring the floating image pearl in your hand to see the 6th prince. I think if the 6th prince sees the woman in the floating image mirror, he'll definitely be interested in her and even want to obtain her. A hint of conspiracy could be seen in the depths of Nangong Zheng's eyes when he finished speaking. He wanted to use the 6th prince as a tool. Furthermore, he believed that with the 6th prince's character, after seeing that perfect and flawless woman in white, he would definitely try to obtain her at all costs. Just as Nangong Zheng had expected. When Nangong Zheng returned to the capital of the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom and brought the floating image pearl to the 6th prince of the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom, the 6th prince's eyes lit up immediately. His breathing quickened as he left his seat and flew to Nangong Zheng's side. Nangongzheng, who's this woman? The sixth prince asked bluntly as he lifted Nangongzheng's collar. The sixth prince was a young man wearing a long golden robe. He had a thin figure and his footsteps were light. There was a haze between his eyebrows. However, from the speed he displayed just now, one could tell that he was not weak. At the very least, he was much stronger than Nangongzheng. Nangongzheng, the sixth prince is asking you a question. Nangongzheng, why are you in a daze? Hurry up and reply to the sixth prince. Nangongzheng was still in a daze when he saw the sixth prince's reaction. A group of young men dressed in luxurious robes sitting on both sides of the main seat began to reprimand him. These young men were all disciples of great clans in the capital. Each of them was from a clan that was not any weaker than the Nangong clan behind Nangong Li. Sixth prince, I don't know who she is as well. I met her outside, Nangongzheng said with a wry smile on his face. Nangongzheng, don't tell me you brought her back to the Nangong clan and hid her away? A young man dressed in luxurious robes who was not on good terms with Nangongzheng asked with a sneer. The sixth prince's gaze on Nangongzheng immediately turned sharper. Sixth prince, if I really brought her back to the Nangong clan, I would definitely give her to you as soon as possible. However, the problem is, I used up a floating light shadow talisman just because I wanted to bring her back and give her to you as a gift. Moreover, 2 elders from the Nangong clan died because of this. 2 of my clan brothers died as well. Nangongzheng said with a wry smile on his face. Upon hearing Nangongzheng's words, the sixth prince released his grip on Nangongzheng's collar. I don't think you'd dare to deceive me. Take this floating light shadow talisman as a reward for this floating image pearl. If this prince finds that girl in the future and obtains her, this prince will reward you handsomely. The sixth prince said indifferently as he took out a celestial talisman and tossed it to the ground beside Nangongzheng. Nangongzheng squatted down and picked up the celestial talisman as he thanked the sixth prince respectfully. Thank you, sixth prince. Thank you, sixth prince. On that day, the sixth prince had ordered his subordinates to search for the whereabouts of the white-clothed woman in the floating image pearl. For this reason, he even had someone who was good at draw a portrait of the white-clothed woman in the floating image pearl. It did not take long before everyone in the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom learned that there was a flawless woman in the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom and that the sixth prince was looking for her. Moreover, it was said that she was quite strong. She had even killed 2 yellow-rank great overarching golden celestials from the Nangong clan, the capital of the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom. Even then, many people were still searching for her. After all, the sixth prince would reward them handsomely if they managed to find her, even if they only managed to provide some useful information. Perhaps, if Duan Ling Tian had left the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom a little later, he would have found out that Huan Er's appearance had been widely spread in the kingdom. While the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom was in an uproar over Huan Er's portrait, meanwhile, Duan Ling Tian and Huan Er entered the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom's territory and arrived outside the capital. Although the buildings in the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom were similar to those in ordinary cities, the overall structure and the majestic aura it exuded gave Duan Ling Tian a new feeling. Duan Ling Tian was slightly taken aback by this. Brother Ling Tian, this city is huge, Huan Er said as she stood beside Ling Tian. A hint of surprise could be seen in her clear eyes as she looked at the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. She stood beside Duan Ling Tian and looked at the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. However, apart from the surprise in her eyes, there was more excitement in them. Such a huge city. There must be a lot of fun and interesting things in there. Chapter 27:18. The capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, a high-rank celestial kingdom, was much more magnificent than Duan Ling Tian had imagined. Apart from that, there were rules in the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Apart from the guards of the capital, no one was allowed to fly in the sky above the capital. Otherwise, it would be considered a provocation to the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. For this reason, Duan Ling Tian and Huan Er had no choice but to enter the capital through the main entrance. At this moment, not only was she wearing a veil, but she was also wearing a veil on her head. Her eyes were barely visible through the veil, and it was impossible to see her clearly. This was also Duan Lingtian's request. Previously, Duan Lingtian had been taught a lesson in Qiliu City, so he was well aware of this. Though was still attractive even with a veil on her face. Therefore, it was better for her to wear a veil. As it turned out, Duan Lingtian was right. After Huan put on the veil, she was no longer as attractive as before. On the contrary, the handsome Duan Lingtian attracted more women. Even some men looked at Duan Lingtian with jealousy in their eyes. There were many handsome men in the world. However, it was rare to see someone as handsome and charismatic as Duan Lingtian. Due to this reason, many people instinctively speculated that Duan Lingtian must have an extraordinary background when they first laid eyes on him. Otherwise, he would not have such a temperament. As the saying went, dragons give birth to dragons, and phoenixes give birth to phoenixes. Brother Lington, can you take off your veil? Look at the people on the street. I don't see anyone wearing a veil. Huan walked next to Duan Lingtian and saw many women staring at Duan Lingtian. For some reason, she felt displeased and took the initiative to ask Duan Lingtian to take off his veil. It was not that she wanted to compete with Duan Lingtian to see who was more attractive. It was because she felt that as long as she took off her veil, those women's gazes would definitely be on her and not on Duan Lingtian. Although Huan didn't know much about relationships, after spending so much time with Duan Lingtian, she had developed a sense of possessiveness toward Duan Lingtian. She did not want to share Duan Lingtian with another woman, even if it was just a few glances. Don't mess around. If you don't listen to me, Big Brother Lingtian won't accompany you to find your mother. Duan Lingtian said with a straight face. What a joke. He had witnessed Huan's charm before. Even if she wore a veil, she would still attract a lot of attention. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he decided to let Huan wear the veil. And it turned out that the veil was a good choice. It no longer made Huan the center of attention. Under such circumstances, he naturally did not want her to remove her veil. Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? Apart from that, Duan Lingtian found it strange as well. Huan had just put on the veil, but why did she not reject it when they first arrived in the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom? Alas, Duan Lingtian did not expect Huan to be jealous of Huan. She did this because she didn't want those women to pay too much attention to him. To put it bluntly, Huan was jealous. Huan was jealous. You only know how to bully me. Huan pouted when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at Duan Lingtian. Although Huan was wearing the veil, Duan Lingtian could see the tears in her eyes since he was standing close to her. He could not help but feel a headache coming on. He comforted her and said, Brother Lington asked you to wear the veil to avoid unnecessary trouble. With your strength, you might be able to subdue those people in Qiliu City. However, we're in the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, a high-rank celestial kingdom. There are many powerhouses here who are stronger than you. It's better for us to keep a low profile. Brother Lingtian, I promise you that you won't have to wear the veil after we find a place to stay. You can also take off your veil. What do you think? Duan Lingtian comforted her patiently. Brother Lingtian, you have to promise me that you'll accompany me to buy a lot of fun and delicious things. Huan begged with tears in her eyes. All right. Brother Lingtian will accompany you to buy a lot of fun and delicious things. Duan Lingtian nodded and comforted Huan as though she was a child. Only then did Huan's tears stop. Upon seeing this, Duan Lingtian sighed in relief. In his eyes, Huan was like a child who had yet to grow up. It was tiring for him to keep her by his side. However, what could he do now? Should he dump her? Based on Huan's naivety, it would not take long before she was captured by those men who were stronger than her. At that time, perhaps, death would be the best outcome for her. Duan Lingtian did not dare to think about it any further. Moreover, to a certain extent, he was the one who brought her out of the ruins. Moreover, it was also thanks to her that he was able to leave the illusory realm. He could not possibly repay her kindness with ingratitude, right? I just hope I can find Huan Er's mother as soon as possible and bring her back to her mother. At that time, I'll be free. Although Duan Ling Tian was a normal man, he had a strong desire to possess Huan. However, his rationality prevailed over his desire. At this moment, he still treated Huan as a little girl who had yet to grow up. Let's look for a restaurant to eat first. Duan Ling Tian led Huan through the spacious streets of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom in search of a restaurant with private rooms. After all, he could not possibly let Huan eat in the main hall of a restaurant. Huan would have to remove her veil and hat when she was eating. If she did so in the main hall of a restaurant, who knew how much trouble she would attract? The spacious streets of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom were filled with endless streams of carriages. Pedestrians walked on both sides of the streets while carriages were in the middle. Occasionally, one could see strange celestial beast mounts. Naturally, these celestial beast mounts were mostly celestial beasts with no intelligence. For example, the snow-white celestial beasts Duan Ling Tian had seen in King Qin's mansion in the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom. Although their cultivation bases were comparable to violet sun golden celestials, they had no intelligence and could only be enslaved. Let's go to this restaurant. After a while, Duan Ling Tian and Huan finally arrived at a restaurant in the south of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom that was relatively lively and had vacant rooms. When Duan Ling Tian and Huan entered the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, they had taken the south gate. Even after walking for half a day, they were still in the south of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. One could easily imagine how vast the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was. When the dishes were served, Duan Ling Tian asked the waiter to leave. After he closed the door, Huan removed her veil and hat before she began to sweep her face clean. She did not look ladylike at all. This is delicious. It's delicious here as well. This is delicious as well. Huan devoured the delicacies on the table as she pouted and said to Duan Ling Tian, "Brother Ling Tian, the food in this restaurant is much better than the food in the other restaurants." Of course, this is the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, after all. Duan Ling Tian smiled. During their journey to the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, Duan Ling Tian would bring Huan to eat whenever they came across a city. For this reason, he was used to seeing Huan devouring delicacies, so he was not surprised at all. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian's ears perked up as he listened to the sounds coming from the restaurant. Earlier, when he was choosing a private room, he had chosen one that was close to the restaurant's main hall. It had to be said that the soundproofing of the private room was quite good. If Duan Ling Tian did not pay attention, he would not have been able to hear the sounds coming from the restaurant's main hall. In the beginning, Duan Ling Tian did not hear anything that piqued his interest. However, after Huan had finished eating half of the dishes on the table, Duan Ling Tian finally heard something that piqued his interest. A month later, the most outstanding young powerhouses under the age of 100 will gather in the Imperial Palace. I wonder which mansion will have the most outstanding young powerhouses under the age of 100. I heard that the Grand Prestige Mansion has a violet sun golden celestial who's younger than 100 years old. In the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, violet sun golden celestials younger than 100 years old are extremely rare. A violet sun golden celestial who's younger than 100 years old? That young powerhouse is very talented. Duan Ling Tian could not help but raise an eyebrow when he heard these people's words. Another young powerhouse under the age of 100 years old? Moreover, they said that the grand mansions under the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom are looking for the most outstanding young powerhouses under the age of 100 years old in their respective territories. Moreover, they will gather in the Imperial Palace of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom in a month's time. Does this have something to do with the martial competition of the 16 counties held by King Qin's mansion under the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom? Previously, I thought King Qin's mansion must have some ulterior motive for holding the martial competition of the 16 counties and promising such a generous reward. It seems like the imperial family of the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom must have ordered King Qin's mansion and the other grand mansions to do so. However, why are the imperial families of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom and the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom recruiting the most outstanding young powerhouses under the age of 100 from their respective territories? Duan Lingtian could not figure it out. Chapter 27:19. Generally speaking, if a person wanted to rise from a small place to make a name for himself in a big place, he would have to rely on his own efforts to stand out. And if a young expert with exceptional talent really appeared in a small place, some of the major powers, including the royal family, would also extend an olive branch to him, but this kind of situation rarely happened, because it was rare for such people to appear. The Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, as a high-rank celestial kingdom, actually ordered the king mansions under its rule to recruit the most outstanding young powerhouses under the age of 100. On the surface, it seemed as though the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was only looking for talents. However, Duan Lingtian could vaguely sense something was amiss. Things shouldn't be that simple. If the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was truly thirsty for talent, they would not have limited the age of the young powerhouses. After all, there were some young powerhouses who were slightly over 100 years old who were much more talented than the young powerhouses under 100 years old. Most importantly, the King Qin's mansion in the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom is also looking for young powerhouses below the age of 100. Is King Qin's mansion going to bring the top 10 contestants of the martial competition of the 16 counties to the capital of the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom to compete with the young experts under the age of 100 from the other king mansions of the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom? As Duan Lingtian continued to listen, he learned more. A month later, the 10 most outstanding young powerhouses under the age of 100 would gather in the Imperial Palace of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Moreover, there would be a martial competition to determine the strongest 50 people. It was precisely because of this that he felt, in the martial competition of the 16 counties organized by the King Qin's mansion under the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom, the young experts who made it to the top 10 would be brought to the Imperial Palace in the capital of the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom to compete with the young experts under the age of 100 from the other king mansions under the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian's ears perked up. At the same time, a voice rang from outside. This time, the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom isn't the only one who's chosen. Even the intermediate-rank celestial kingdoms and low-rank celestial kingdoms will select some young powerhouses who are younger than 100 years old. Intermediate celestial kingdoms will select the 30 strongest young experts under the age of 100. Low celestial kingdoms will select the 20 strongest young experts under the age of 100. As soon as this voice was heard, it immediately caused the entire restaurant to fall into a deathly silence. After a while, someone asked, "How do you know?" Mid-rank and low-rank immortal kingdoms will also select young experts who are less than 100 years old? I thought the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was the only one doing it. Why are there so few spots for intermediate and inferior immortal kingdoms? More and more people voiced their doubts. The owner of the voice from before continued, "Judging from your expressions, I don't think you have heard that there will be a Wasteland Grand Competition in a year's time, right? The Grand Contest of the Wasteland is jointly organized by the 3 major celestial sects of the Wasteland. The participants are the most outstanding young experts under the age of 100 from the celestial kingdoms around the wasteland. There are 50 spots for high-rank celestial kingdoms, 30 spots for intermediate-rank celestial kingdoms, and 20 spots for low-rank celestial kingdoms. It's said that the best participants in the Grand Contest of the Wasteland will be given a chance to join the 3 major celestial sects of the wasteland." As soon as that person's voice fell, the restaurant fell into a dead silence once again. No one made a sound for a long time. The wasteland? The 3 major celestial sects of the wasteland? Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes slightly. At the same time, a map slowly unfolded in his mind. He had obtained this map from the Liu clan in Qi Liu City in the Cloudy Rock Celestial Kingdom. He had obtained the map through a memory celestial talisman. Therefore, after he studied the map, it became part of his memory. This map covers a vast area. The south of the map is a barren mountain, and the north of the barren mountain is the wasteland. There are 373 celestial kingdoms around the wasteland. 39 of them are high-rank celestial kingdoms, 125 intermediate-rank celestial kingdoms, and the rest are low-rank celestial kingdoms. The wasteland is vast, but it doesn't belong to any celestial kingdom. In fact, the wasteland is surrounded by high-rank celestial kingdoms. The Martial Dragon Celestial Sect, the Tai-E Celestial Sect, and the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect. The three celestial sects marked on the map must be the three major celestial sects. Subsequently, the voices that resonated in the restaurant's lobby confirmed Duan Ling Tian's speculation. The three major celestial sects of the wasteland were indeed the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect, the Tai-E Celestial Sect, and the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect. A year later, the Wasteland Grand Contest would be held in the wasteland. At that time, the royal families of the various celestial kingdoms around the desolate region would bring their most outstanding young experts under the age of 100 to participate in the competition. None of the celestial kingdoms would be absent. This was because the three major celestial sects of the wasteland had sent invitations to the 373 celestial kingdoms around the wasteland. At that time, if any celestial kingdom was absent, they would definitely be hated by the three major celestial sects of the wasteland. In the history of the wasteland, similar incidents had happened before. The three major celestial sects of the wasteland were much more powerful than celestial kingdoms. Even high-rank celestial kingdoms could not compare to them. In the Devata realms, celestial sects were much more powerful than high-rank celestial kingdoms. For example, the sects in the various celestial kingdoms that were weaker than the imperial family would not be called celestial sects since they were not qualified to be called celestial sects. The three major celestial sects of the wasteland are much more powerful than high-rank celestial kingdoms. I wonder if they're stronger than the compassionate celestial traveler sect. After learning about the three major celestial sects of the wasteland, Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as a beautiful figure appeared in his mind. Apart from that, he remembered the compassionate celestial traveler sect as well. Previously, he had left King Qin's mansion because the sect leader of the compassionate celestial traveler sect had sent someone to kill him. Since the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom is a high-rank celestial kingdom, I should be able to find information about the compassionate celestial traveler sect in the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. I should also look for information about the three major celestial sects of the wasteland. With this thought in mind, Duan Ling Tian made up his mind. Subsequently, the group of people in the restaurant's lobby basically revolved around the Wasteland Grand Tournament. Moreover, most of them were talking about the young experts under the age of 100 that they knew were recruited by a certain king's mansion. However, Duan Ling Tian was not interested in what they were talking about at all. Don't be in such a hurry. It's slowly. If these dishes aren't enough, I'll ask them to serve more. Duan Ling Tian's attention returned to Huan, who was still devouring the delicacies on the table like a whirlwind. One could see the number of dishes on the table dwindling at an alarming rate. The empty plates on the table were stacked up to the height of a 7-year-old child. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Huan continued wolfing down the dishes. She only responded to Duan Lingtian briefly before she ignored Duan Lingtian. What a little glutton. Duan Lingtian shook his head with a smile on his face. After Huan finished the dishes on the table, Duan Lingtian asked the waiter to serve another 2 tables of dishes. After Huan finished the last 2 tables of dishes, she wiped her greasy mouth and rubbed her stomach. Not bad. I'm 60% full. Let's call it a day. We'll continue tonight. 60% full? Upon hearing Huan's words, Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched. If he did not know Huan had the bloodline of a celestial beast, he would have thought Huan was a monster. After Huan put on her veil and hat again, Duan Lingtian paid the bill and left the restaurant. He could sense the waiter looking at him and Huan as though they were monsters. Duan Lingtian really wanted to turn around and explain that he did not eat anything and that Huan was the only one who ate. Boom. Rumble. Just as Duan Ling Tian and Huan were about to look for an inn to stay in, an earth-shaking rumble rang from the end of the road. In the next moment, Duan Ling Tian saw another group of celestial beasts. 9 mighty and strange-looking immortal beasts were pulling a roofless carriage as they whistled through the air. They were so fast that they were not inferior to King Qin's carriage that he had seen in King Qin's mansion. These celestial beasts are as strong as violet sun-golden celestials as well. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. With this thought in mind, Duan Ling Tian shifted his gaze to the roofless carriage. A woman dressed in an orange-red dress could be seen sitting on the carriage. Although she was beautiful, she was far from being as beautiful as Huan. Based on the arrogance and haughtiness in her eyes, it was not difficult to tell that she was a spoiled young lady from a wealthy family. When Duan Ling Tian looked at the woman on the roofless carriage, the woman noticed his gaze as well. Her eyes lit up as soon as she met his gaze. She looked like a hungry wolf that had just seen its prey. However, since the 9 celestial beasts were moving at a fast speed, the roofless carriage passed by Duan Ling Tian and Huan in just a blink of an eye. Duan Lingnan did not look at the woman as he continued to walk forward with Kerr. "Hm?" Duan Ling Tian frowned slightly. This was because he had heard the rumbling of the 9 immortal beasts as they turned their heads and charged towards him. At the same time, he had also sensed something. Chapter 27:20. Boom. Rumble. In just a blink of an eye, the road that Duan Ling Tian and Huan were traveling was filled with clouds of dust. The passers-by who were slower were almost hit by the 9-headed celestial beasts that were charging toward them. When the dust settled, the roofless carriage pulled by the 9-headed celestial beasts appeared in front of Duan Ling Tian and Huan. A young woman dressed in an orange-red robe sat on the roofless carriage and stared at Duan Ling Tian with a burning gaze. She did not seem reserved at all. Behind the woman on the roofless carriage was a very old woman. The old woman wore a gray robe and stood there expressionlessly. She gave off an unfathomable feeling. "What's your name?" the young woman asked as she looked at Duan Ling Tian. Although her voice was pleasant to the ears, it was jarring to the ears when it entered Duan Ling Tian's ears. When the young woman spoke, her eyes that were looking at Duan Ling Tian seemed to have turned into 2 demonic moons that shone with an evil light. When Duan Ling Tian saw the young woman driving the carriage and almost hitting some passers-by, he was certain of his suspicions. As expected, this young woman was an arrogant young lady from a wealthy family. Moreover, she treated human lives like grass. Duan Lingnan merely glanced at the young woman indifferently. Then, he held Huan's hand and prepared to pull her around the 9-headed celestial beasts that were blocking their way to find an inn. However, just as he was about to take a deep breath, along with a crisp and ear-piercing sound, a red long whip appeared in the hand of the arrogant woman in the front seat. With a swing of her hand, she threw the long whip at the void where Duan Ling Tian was about to pass through. Duan Ling Tian's expression changed drastically, and he stopped in his tracks. A layer of frost appeared on Huan's face under the veil, and she emitted a chilling aura. "What are you doing?" Duan Lingnan asked angrily as he glared at the young woman. "What am I doing?" The young woman looked at Duan Ling Tian indifferently and said, "Didn't you hear me? I'm asking for your name." "Do I know you?" Duan Ling Tian asked with a frown on his face. "From this moment on you'll know me. I'm called Zhou Shudong. From today onwards, you will be this young lady's boy toy. It's your fortune that I've taken a liking to you." The young woman raised her head arrogantly. "Boy toy?" Duan Ling Tian was dumbstruck when he heard the arrogant woman, and he was unable to react for a long time. Duan Ling Tian's eyes, naturally he knew what a boy toy was. However, generally speaking, wasn't it only those older women who had the hobby of looking for male toys for them to play with? How could this arrogant girl, who looked so young, have such a fetish? That's right. Even people from the mundane realms can stay young forever, let alone people from the Devata realms. This Zhou Shudong looks young. She might be an old woman who has lived for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. She just looks young. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. "Boy toy." Upon hearing the young woman's words, Huan who was standing next to Duan Lingtian, could not help but ask, "Brother Lingtian, what's a boy toy?" Duan Lingtian was rendered speechless by Huan Er's question. He did not know how to explain it. I was wondering why the fourth miss of the Zhou clan would block this young man's path. As it turns out, she's taken a liking to this young man and wants to bring him back to the Zhou clan to be her boy toy. At this moment, Duan Lingtian heard a passerby whispering to Duan Lingtian. Through this, Duan Lingtian learned that the arrogant young woman, Zhou Shudong, was from the Zhou clan. Although the fourth miss of the Zhou clan is open-minded and likes to have boy toys, I have to say she has high standards. It's difficult for ordinary men to become her boy toy. This purple-clad young man's appearance and temperament are top-notch. It's not surprising that she's taken a liking to him. This young man has an extraordinary temperament. It's obvious he's not from an ordinary family. Isn't the fourth miss of the Zhou clan afraid of offending someone with a powerful background? You're overthinking it. Not only is the Zhou clan one of the top clans in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, but they're also related to the imperial family. In the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, the only young men the fourth miss of the Zhou clan can't afford to offend are her cousins in the imperial family. What if this young man is an outsider? Then he can only blame himself for being unlucky. Haven't you heard of the saying, "A strong dragon can't suppress a snake in its old haunts"? The whispers of the group of passers-by entered Duan Lingtian's ears in a timely manner. It also allowed Duan Lingtian to have a certain understanding of the arrogant woman's background. The fourth miss of the Zhou clan. The Zhou clan was one of the top clans in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Moreover, they were related to the imperial family. The fourth miss of the Zhou clan would address the princes of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom's imperial family as her cousin brother or cousin brother. No wonder she's so arrogant. As it turns out, her background is not simple. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Based on the words of the passers-by, the fourth miss of the Zhou clan could be considered as one of the top clans in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Naturally, it's my good fortune to be chosen by Miss Zhou. Duan Lingtian looked at Zhou Shudong and said indifferently, "However, I'm a person who doesn't have much luck, so I'd like to thank you for your kindness. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." After saying that, Duan Lingtian held Huan Er's hand and prepared to leave. Since he knew Zhou Shudong's background was not simple, Duan Lingtian did not want to get into a conflict with her unless it was absolutely necessary. Naturally, if necessary, he would have no choice but to fall out with her. After all, he, Duan Lingtian, was an unyielding man. He was not a pushover. "Stop!" Just as Duan Lingtian was about to leave with Huan, Zhou Shudong leaped out of her carriage and appeared in front of him, blocking his path. Her gaze was cold when she looked at Duan Lingtian and Huan Er's hands. If her gaze could be turned into a blade, she would have cut off Huan Er's hand. "Miss Zhou, a forced melon won't be sweet." Duan Lingtian's gaze turned cold when he was stopped by Zhou Shudong again. "There's nothing I can't get if I want it. Today, you'll either die with this woman or kill her with your own hands. Then, follow me back to the Zhou clan and become my boy toy," Zhou Shudong said coldly. Zhou Shudong's tone turned cold as well. With just a few words, she had already decided Huan Er's fate. When she saw the man she liked holding another woman's hand, she treated that woman as a dead person. She had always treated that woman this way and expressed her displeasure. "You want to kill me?" Her voice was frosty and cold. "Huan Er." Duan Lingtian could feel the coldness from Huan Er's hand. He quickly squeezed her hand and said in a low voice, "Leave this to me. If I can't handle it, you can make a move." "Miss Zhou, please be polite to my sister," Duan Lingtian said in a deep voice after letting go of Huan Er's hand. He could see it as well. This Zhou Shudong was extremely jealous. "She's your sister?" As expected, Zhou Shudong was stunned when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Her cold expression softened a little as she said, "Since she's your sister, I won't kill her. However, you'll have to follow me back to the Zhou clan and become my boy toy. Otherwise, I'll repeat what I said earlier. Both you and your sister will die." Zhou Shudong's eyes gleamed coldly when she finished speaking. "Now make your choice." Do you want your sister to die with you, or do you want to follow me back to the Zhou clan and become my boy toy? Zhou Shudong gave Duan Lingtian an ultimatum, forcing him to make a choice. Miss Zhou, there are many men in this world. Why must you target me? Duan Lingtian would have lost his patience if this was any other time. However, now that he had finally arrived at the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, he did not want to offend Zhou Shudong and be forced to move to another place. I'll give you 10 breaths to think about it. If you still haven't made a choice after 10 breaths, I'll take it as you've rejected my offer. Zhou Shudong said coldly. Huanger, let's go. Upon hearing Zhou Shudong's words, Duan Lingtian knew there was no turning back. His expression turned cold immediately. Even his voice was filled with coldness. He held Huaner's hand and walked to Zhou Shudong's side. Zhou Shudong's expression turned cold when she saw this. She raised her hand, and the fiery red whip in her hand transformed into a fiery red python that shot toward Duan Lingtian. When Zhou Shudong made her move earlier, Duan Lingtian was certain she was a blue sun golden celestial like him. Ridiculous! Duan Lingtian had lost his patience. His eyes turned even colder when he saw Zhou Shudong's whip flying toward him. His right hand shot out at lightning speed as his celestial origin energy surged out and caught Zhou Shudong's whip. Scram! In the next moment, Duan Lingtian cried out angrily and threw Zhou Shudong to the side again. His vast celestial origin energy surged out and injured Zhou Shudong. Fourth miss. The old woman's expression changed drastically when she saw Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy surging out of his body and grabbing Zhou Shudong's whip. She knew her young miss was no match for the purple-clad young man. Brat, you're seeking death. When Duan Lingtian threw Zhou Shudong to the side, the old woman's expression was ferocious. Her eyes were filled with killing intent as she charged toward Duan Lingtian like an eagle. Kill her. Chapter 27-21. Yes, Brother Lingtian, replied without hesitation. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Huan, who had been feeling impatient for a long time, looked at the old woman who was charging toward Duan Lingtian with a cold gaze. The old woman's cultivation base was extraordinary. Based on her speed, she was at least an Earth-rank Great Overarching Golden Celestial. However, an Earth-rank Great Overarching Golden Celestial was nothing compared to Huan. Huan raised her hand, and a gust of cold wind appeared out of thin air. It seemed as though the wind was about to freeze the air. Huan waved her hand again. The gust of cold wind swept toward the old woman who was charging at Duan Lingtian. Before she could get close to Duan Lingtian, the gust of cold wind shrouded her. Furthermore, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the old woman was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture. Through the ice sculpture, one could vaguely see the old woman's malevolent expression. The ice sculpture flew toward Duan Lingtian due to inertia. However, its speed was much slower than the old woman's speed. Brother Lingtian, Huan, called out softly. In just a blink of an eye, she appeared next to Duan Lingtian. She held Duan Lingtian's hand and helped Duan Lingtian avoid the old woman who had turned into an ice sculpture. Bang! The ice sculpture fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. The old woman was dead. In truth, the old woman was already dead the moment she was frozen into an ice sculpture. Now that the ice sculpture had shattered, her body was no longer whole. The commotion alerted the 9 celestial beasts that were pulling the roofless chariot. The 9 celestial beasts grew restless as they glared at Huaner and Duan Lingtian with bloodshot eyes. In just a blink of an eye, they charged toward Huaner and Duan Lingtian as though they were going to ram them to death. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to kill the 9 celestial beasts, Huaner made her move first. Another gust of cold wind swept out and froze the 9 celestial beasts in place. Not only had she frozen the 9 celestial beasts into ice sculptures, but she had also frozen the ground beneath the celestial beasts' feet, freezing them to the ground. The 9 celestial beasts looked like lifelike ice sculptures. Miss Zhou, I'll spare your life for the sake of the Zhou clan. I hope you know what's good for you. Duan Lingtian said indifferently as he glanced at Zhou Shudong, the fourth miss of the Zhou clan, who was slumped on the ground. She was completely dumbstruck at this moment. After he finished speaking, he turned to look at Huan and smiled. Let's go, okay. However, before she left, she could not help but ask through voice transmission, Brother Lington, why didn't you kill her as well? She tried to kill me earlier. Huan, I didn't kill her because I don't want to leave the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom so soon. You don't want to travel all the time, right? I plan to stay in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom for a while before I make my next move. Duan Lingtian said, moreover, the fourth miss of the Zhou clan has an extraordinary background. If we kill her, we'll definitely anger the Zhou clan and the imperial family. It's easy to kill her. However, for now, it's not worth it. Duan Lingtian said. If Duan Lingtian really wanted to kill Zhou Shudong, he would not have held back earlier. Although Zhou Shudong's cultivation base was similar to his, she was also a blue sun golden celestial. However, his strength was not on par with his cultivation base. Even without the 7 orifices exquisite sword, he could easily kill an ordinary great overarching golden celestial, let alone a mere blue sun golden celestial. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Huan nodded even though she did not fully understand. The spacious street was deathly silent. Many people watched as Duan Lingtian and Huan left. They only regained their senses after the duo had disappeared at the end of the street. When they regained their senses, they could not help but gasp as their eyes widened in shock. It was as though they had seen a ghost. How powerful! How terrifying! The strength of that white-clothed woman wearing a veil and a hat is too terrifying. She's at least an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Only an overarching heavenly supreme celestial would have such strength. After all, the old woman she killed was an elder of the Zhou clan who usually followed the fourth miss of the Zhou clan. She was an earth-rank great overarching golden celestial. Overarching heavenly supreme celestials. It seems like they have an extraordinary background as well. How can they be simple? Didn't you see how they continued to walk into the capital after killing the Zhou clan's people? It's obvious they're not afraid of the Zhou clan. However, they're already giving the Zhou clan face by not killing the fourth miss of the Zhou clan. The passers-by stole a glance at Zhou Shudong, the fourth miss of the Zhou clan. When they saw Zhou Shudong was still in a daze, they relaxed and began to whisper among themselves. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian and Huan walked around the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom before they found a suitable inn to stay in. The reason why Duan Lingtian said that he had specifically chosen an inn was because the inn that Duan Lingtian chose belonged to the Nian clan, the Zhou clan's sworn enemy. It was one of the properties of the Nian clan. The Nian clan was one of the top clans in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Their strength was on par with the Zhou clan. Similar to the Zhou clan, the Nian clan was also a relative of the imperial family. They had close ties with the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. The Fleeting Time Inn. The inn owned by the Nian clan was called the Fleeting Time Inn. It occupied a vast area, and there were a total of 999 guest rooms in it. Each of the guest rooms had their own independent courtyards, and each of the courtyards was equipped with some soundproofing and spirit-gathering formations. There were 999 guest rooms, and each guest room cost 10 supreme-grade celestial stones a day. Ordinary people could not afford to stay in such a place. 999 guest rooms. And it looks like the occupancy rate is quite high. Even if only half of the rooms are occupied, the Fleeting Time Inn still earns 5,000 supreme celestial stones a day. 5,000 a day, 50,000 a day, 150,000 a month, 1,800,000 a year. Under the guidance of the Fleeting Time Inn's manservant, Duan Lingtian observed his surroundings and was shocked by the Fleeting Time Inn's speed of earning money. Brother, this is my first time staying in the Fleeting Time Inn. Can you tell me more about the inn? After Duan Lingtian withdrew his sweeping gaze, he said to the attendant that led the way. Of course, the attendant replied respectfully. Then he continued to say, Sir, although the cost of staying in the Fleeting Time Inn is high, it's definitely worth it. Not only is the inn the best cultivation environment in the capital, but you won't be disturbed due to the presence of many overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nyen clan. Unless you've offended the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom or a powerhouse from a high-rank Celestial Kingdom, you'll be safe as long as you stay in the Fleeting Time Inn, Duan Ling Tian continued to say. Unless you've offended the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom or a powerhouse from a high-rank Celestial Kingdom, you'll be safe as long as you stay here. This is the main reason why the inn is so expensive. Staying in the Fleeting Time Inn is like having a life-saving talisman. The servant paused for a moment upon saying this. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he heard the attendant's words. He had chosen the Fleeting Time Inn because the Nyen clan and the Zhou clan did not get along well. He did not think the Zhou clan would be allowed to do as they pleased in the Nyen clan's territory. He did not expect the Fleeting Time Inn would be able to protect its guests. So, even if I have offended the Zhou clan, I'll still be safe here? Duan Lingtian asked. The Zhou clan? The attendant was taken aback when he heard Duan Lingtian's question. Then he said, of course. Putting aside the fact that the Zhou clan and the Nyen clan are at odds with each other, the Nyen clan won't allow them to do as they please in the Fleeting Time Inn. We're not afraid of any forces that are on par with the Zhou clan. Sir, 80% of the guests who stay in the Fleeting Time Inn do so to avoid their enemies. You don't have to worry about your safety, the attendant said. Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Lingtian nodded. Of course, the rooms of our Fleeting Time Tavern are not only safe, but they also have soundproof formations and spirit-gathering formations set up around the rooms. Duan Lingtian did not pay much attention to the attendant's words. Cultivation environment? With the divine crystal, Duan Lingtian would have the best cultivation environment even if he was in the middle of nowhere. For this reason, he chose to stay in the Fleeting Time Inn for his own safety. It's no wonder I sense dozens of people staring at the entrance of the inn. It seems like those people have enemies in the inn, and they're waiting for their enemies to use up all their supreme-grade celestial stones before they leave the inn. Realization dawned on Duan Lingtian when he recalled the dozens of people he saw outside the Fleeting Time Inn. How should I address you? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile on his face as he handed a supreme-grade celestial stone to the attendant at the entrance of his room. Thank you, sir. The attendant's eyes lit up when he saw the supreme celestial stone. He quickly took the supreme celestial stone and thanked Duan Lingtian. You can call me Little Six. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded before he continued to say, Little Six, I'll have to trouble you with a lot of errands in the future. Let's keep in touch. Don't worry, I won't mistreat you. After a guest checks in, if you have any errands to run, just hang this red cloth strip at the door. Chapter 27-22. Duan Lingtian thought to himself when he saw the waiter's actions. He was certain there were many people in the inn who had similar requests. After all, those who stayed in the Fleeting Time Inn to avoid being hunted by their enemies would not dare to leave the inn. After all, who knew if their enemies were waiting for them outside the inn's entrance? It was only natural that the guests who stayed in the inn would have certain needs such as medicinal pills, materials for refining weapons, refining pills, or memory celestial talismans. All right. After receiving the red cloth, Duan Lingtian and Huan were led to the guest rooms by the waiter. The Fleeting Time Inn occupied a vast area, and even though it had 999 rooms, each room was spacious. There were 3 rooms in the courtyard, 2 of which were facing the inner courtyard, and the last one was facing the entrance of the courtyard. Greetings, guest. As soon as he entered the courtyard, a pleasant voice entered Duan Lingtian's ears. He focused his gaze and saw a young girl dressed as a servant girl standing at the other side of the courtyard's entrance. Currently, the young girl was greeting him. The young girl had a delicate appearance. Although she was not as pretty as Huan and his 2 wives, she was still above average. Guest, there's a maid in each of our guest rooms. The maid's responsibility is to serve the guests meals and lodging. Apart from that, as long as the maid is willing, the guest is allowed to engage in intimate activities with her, the waiter said. What the attendant said was all routine, but it caused Duan Lingtian to feel embarrassed when he heard it. The young girl dressed as a maid stole a glance at Duan Lingtian. When she saw Duan Lingtian's handsome face, her cheeks flushed red. "My lord, these maids are all virgins," the waiter said as he looked at Duan Lingtian meaningfully. "You said the maid has to be willing. What if she's unwilling?" Duan Lingtian asked curiously. "If the maid is unwilling, you can't force her. Otherwise, it'll be considered a provocation to the inn," the waiter said. Duan Lingtian nodded. "Then why didn't you warn me? Aren't you afraid I'll be tricked?" Duan Lingtian said as he glanced at the waiter. "Guest, it's not that I didn't warn you, but I don't think it's necessary for you to do so. It's a blessing for these maids to be able to sleep with you. Moreover, I don't think any of them would refuse you." The waiter smiled wryly as he flattered Duan Lingtian. "If you don't believe me, you can ask her," the waiter said as he looked at the maid. Duan Lingtian turned to look at the waiter as well. "If you want me to accompany you, I'm willing." When Duan Lingtian looked at her, the servant girl felt her heart thumping wildly. When she spoke, the word willing was as soft as a mosquito's voice. Cough, cough. Upon hearing the maid's words, it was Duan Lingtian's turn to feel awkward. He turned to look at the waiter and said, "Little Six, if there's nothing else, you can leave now." Yes. The attendant thought that Duan Lingtian was anxious, so he gave Duan Lingtian a smile that all men understood before turning around and leaving, and he closed the courtyard door on his way out. "What's your name?" Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the maid. "I'm called Ching." "Oh," the maid replied. Ching blushed as she replied. "You don't have to blush. I won't let you do that with me." Duan Lingtian took a deep breath before he said bluntly, "Just do what you normally do. It's fine as long as you don't disturb us when we're cultivating." Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the maid realized she had overthought things. She was embarrassed. "Brother Lingtian, Little Six said you can do things between a man and a woman. What do you mean by things between a man and a woman? Also, he said this young lady is a virgin." "What's a virgin?" An extremely pleasant voice rang out, attracting the attention of the servant girl again. Although the maid was also a woman, she was still attracted by the voice of Huan, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian. Huaner's voice was pleasant to the ears like music. It was so pleasant that one could not help but fall in love with it. So, he already has someone by his side. The maidservant glanced at Huan, and realized that the beautiful guest in front of her already had a companion. Although the woman was wearing a veil and hat, she could still vaguely make out the contours of the woman's face. She was certain that the woman was prettier than her. Inwardly, she could not help but sigh. "Huan, you're still young, so you don't know what you're talking about. You'll know when you grow up," Duan Lingtian said to Huan. "Brother Lingtian, I'm not young anymore. I'm 13 years old this year," Huan said unhappily. Huan was clearly displeased. 13 years old? Upon hearing Huaner's words, Duan Lingtian and the maid standing at the side were stunned. 13 years old? The maid studied the white-clad woman in front of her. Huaner's figure was so perfect that she felt inferior. She did not think a 13-year-old woman would have such a figure. 13 years old? "Huan, you're only 13 years old?" Duan Lingtian asked hesitantly when he regained his senses. He looked at Huan, with a confused expression on his face. "Yes." Huan nodded. Your Huan, your clan, are all of you so precocious?" Duan Lingtian asked with a wry smile. At this moment, he recalled Huan was not a pure human. She had the blood of the Phantom Fox clan in her veins. Phantom foxes were celestial beasts in the Devata realms that had awakened their intelligence. "Well, let's return to our room first." Duan Lingtian called out to Huan, when he sensed someone was still with them. Then, he led Huan, into a room and closed the door behind them. When she saw this, the servant girl, Ching, finally gave up. While Duan Lingtian and Huan, were staying in the fleeting time in Zhou Shudong, the fourth miss of the Zhou clan, had returned to the Zhou clan. News of what had happened to Zhou Shudong had also spread throughout the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. It would not take long before everyone in the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom learned about what had happened. She, Zhou Shudong, the eldest miss of the Zhou clan, had taken a liking to a man and wanted him as her toy. However, she was rejected. Moreover, the man was still alive and kicking. On the other hand, the people around her were killed in public. Who is he? He said he didn't kill me out of respect for the Zhou clan. This means he's still wary of the Zhou clan. No. This matter can't be let go just like that. I, Zhou Shudong, have never been so humiliated. Not long after Zhou Shudong returned to the Zhou clan, she left the Zhou clan and went to the imperial palace of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom before news of what had happened to her reached the Zhou clan. The size of the Zhou family's mansion was already very exaggerated. However, the imperial palace of the Soaring Dragon celestial kingdom was even more vast than the Zhou clan's estate. It occupied almost half of the eastern side of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. Moreover, it was surrounded by a river that surrounded the imperial palace. Greetings, Miss Zhou. When Zhou Shudong arrived at the entrance of the imperial palace, the guards at the entrance recognized her and bowed to her. Due to her impatience, Zhou Shudong strode into the imperial palace. However, she was stopped by the guards. Miss Zhou, although we know you, according to the imperial palace's rules, you'll still have to show us your pass. The leader of the guards at the entrance of the imperial palace bowed respectfully at Zhou Shudong. Take a look. Zhou Shudong impatiently took out a token wrapped in silver light from her storage ring and waved it in front of the guard leader. After the guard leader confirmed the authenticity of the token, he stepped aside and welcomed Zhou Shudong into the palace. It's my first time seeing the fourth miss of the Zhou clan in such a hurry. Something must have happened to her, right? One of the guards speculated. Isn't it obvious? If it's not something urgent, why would she be in such a hurry to the point of forgetting to show us her pass? Another guard chimed in. After entering the imperial palace, the first thing Zhou Shudong did was to look for her cousin, the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon celestial kingdom, who was the son of her father's sister and the emperor of the Soaring Dragon celestial kingdom. He was one of the three most outstanding sons of the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. If there were no unforeseen circumstances, the next Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom would be selected from the three most outstanding princes, including the fourth prince. Dong, why are you in such a hurry to look for me? Did something happen? In a pavilion in the front courtyard of the fourth prince's temporary residence, a young man dressed in a green robe with gold embroidery sat in front of a stone table. He looked at Zhou Shudong, who had just sat down, and asked with a smile on his face. The young man was tall and sturdy. He had a handsome face and an extraordinary bearing. He was none other than the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom, Long Xiangyun. Long was the surname of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. Cousin, help me investigate someone. I won't be satisfied if I don't find out who he is, Zhou Shudong said with an unsightly expression on her face. Although the purple-clad young man might have an extraordinary background, perhaps the Zhou clan could not afford to offend him. However, she was unwilling to let this matter go before she could investigate the purple-clad young man's background. Perhaps the purple-clad young man had no background at all? Who do you want to investigate? Long Xiangyun asked in surprise. This was his first time seeing such an unsightly expression on his cousin's face. For a moment his curiosity was piqued. Chapter 27-23. In one of the guest rooms in the Fleeting Time Inn, Tuan removed her veil and hat as she sat cross-legged on the bed in one of the rooms. The liquid heaven and earth spirit energy in the air surged into her body at a rapid speed and became a part of her celestial origin energy. The small round box on the necklace pendant on her beautiful jade neck had been opened at some unknown time, revealing the true appearance of the divine crystal inside. The liquid heaven and earth spirit energy surged out of the divine crystal and filled the entire room. For a time, the entire room seemed to have transformed into a holy land for cultivation. With such a cultivation environment, it'll be a shame if I can't break through and become an indigo sun golden celestial in such a short time. An intoxicated expression appeared on Duan Ling Tian's face as he sat cross-legged with his back facing Huan. He could not help but think to himself, what a coincidence. After taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes and began to cultivate. For him, this cultivation environment was enough to push his cultivation speed to the limit. Celestial stones were no longer of any use to him. Only the medicinal efficacy of the pills in his body could help him increase his cultivation speed. Duan Lingtian lost track of time as he cultivated. He tried his best to break through the bottleneck to become a blue sun golden celestial. It felt like only a moment had passed, but it also felt like a century had passed. I've broken through. Duan Lingtian, who had completely immersed himself in his cultivation, had lost track of time. When he successfully broke through and became an indigo sun golden celestial, he regained his senses immediately. Rings of celestial origin energy rippled out from Duan Lingtian's body. The ripples were particularly eye-catching when they collided with the liquid heaven and earth spirit energy. Brother Lingtian, you've broken through so quickly? When Duan Lingtian opened his eyes, a pleasantly surprised expression appeared on his face. At the same time, Huan Er's surprised voice rang in his ears. What's the matter? How long have I been cultivating? Duan Lingtian asked, even though he did not know if Huan Er knew how long he had been cultivating. Brother Lingtian, you've only been cultivating for 3 days, Huan Er replied. Duan Lingtian nodded. 3 days? Duan Lingtian was dumbfounded. Although he thought it would not take long for him to break through the bottleneck to become an indigo sun golden celestial in such a good cultivation environment, he did not expect it would only take him 3 days. Isn't this a little too fast? Duan Lingtian took a long time before he regained his senses. In the end, he attributed this to the cultivation environment he was in. Brother Lingtian's cultivation method, Huan Er said. Duan Lingtian's voice sounded. Huan Er's cultivation base? Duan Huan Er's voice. Yes. Huan Er nodded. Then she continued to say, Brother Lingtian, you have 99 heavenly veins, just like me. Although your physique is not as good as mine, and your innate talent is slightly inferior to mine, it shouldn't be that bad. With your innate talent, you wouldn't be absorbing the heaven and earth spirit energy so slowly unless you're cultivating a low-level cultivation method. Huan Er's words revealed Duan Lingtian's predicament. His cultivation method was too weak. Indeed, Duan Lingtian's cultivation method was considered weak in the capital of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. After all, it was only a yellow-grade cultivation method. Although it was a graded cultivation method, it was the weakest among graded cultivation methods. Brother Lingtian, do you want me to teach you my cultivation method? Huan Er asked. Upon hearing Huan Er's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up immediately. How could her cultivation method be weak when she possessed a rare treasure like a divine crystal? Duan Lingtian's breathing quickened when he heard Huan Er's words. Huan Er. However, after a while, Duan Lingtian seemed to have thought of something. He felt as though a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head, and he regained his senses. Didn't your mother tell you not to tell others about your cultivation method? Even if it's inconvenient, it's better not to share it. Big Brother Lingtian, you can just go and look for a higher grade cultivation method. Duan Lingtian added. Earlier, when he heard Ker's words, he was overjoyed and overjoyed. Now that he had regained his senses, he realized it was a taboo for him to share his cultivation method with others. Brother Lingtian, I was born with this cultivation method. It's been in my memory ever since I was born. My mother said it's part of her memory. Among the Phantom Fox clan, only the 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox that only appears once in a million years has this part of her memory, Huan Er said. Before my mother left, she didn't say I couldn't pass the cultivation technique to others. However, I tried to pass it to my mother, but she couldn't cultivate it. I don't know why. Huan Er said. Born with it? Part of her memory? Even your mother can't cultivate it? Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian shook his head. In that case, I don't think I can cultivate it as well. After all, it's something you were born with. It's probably tailor-made for you. Others won't be able to cultivate it. My mother is a pure celestial beast, so she can't cultivate it. Brother Lingtian, you're a pure human. Perhaps you can cultivate it? Huan Er said. Upon hearing this, a hint of hope appeared in Duan Lingtian's eyes. That was right. Huan'er's mother was a pure celestial beast, so she could not cultivate. Perhaps she did not have the bloodline of a human. Apart from the bloodline of a celestial beast, Huan'er also had the bloodline of a human. As a human, he might be able to cultivate the cultivation method in Huan'er's memory. Although I don't know what Huan'er's true form is or what the Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox is, since it's a celestial beast that only appears once in a million years in the Phantom Fox clan, it means the Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox is not simple. As for the Phantom Fox clan, let's not talk about the other Phantom Foxes. Based on the fact that Huan'er's mother left her with a divine crystal, it's obvious Huan'er's mother is not simple. The Phantom Fox clan is not simple. If that's the case, the cultivation method in the Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox's memory must be. Although Duan Lingtian did not know the grade of the cultivation method in Huan'er's memory, he was certain it was not an ordinary cultivation method. Otherwise, how could Kerr have broken through and become an overarching heavenly supreme celestial in just 10 years? A 13-year-old overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Such a person was as rare as a phoenix feather and a Qilin horn in the spirit overarching heaven. For this reason, when Huan'er taught Duan Lingtian the cultivation method in her memory, Duan Lingtian was so excited that it took a long time for him to calm down. Until he discovered he could not cultivate the cultivation method Huan'er had taught him. However, based on Huan'er's memory, Duan Lingtian was able to make a rough guess. He was certain Huan'er's cultivation method was superior to a heaven-grade cultivation method. Naturally, this was only Duan Lingtian's speculation. After all, Duan Lingtian had never come into contact with a heaven-grade cultivation method before, so he did not know what it was like. Big brother Lingtian, why don't I help you get a cultivation method that's more advanced than the one you're cultivating? She could not help but feel anxious when she saw the disappointment in the depths of Duan Lingtian's eyes. She could not help but feel upset when she saw the disappointment in the depths of Duan Lingtian's eyes. Well, focus on your cultivation. You don't have to worry about the cultivation method. Brother Lingtian can handle it himself. Duan Lingtian patted Huan'er's head and said with a smile, Huan'er, when your cultivation base improves, you'll be able to help Brother Lingtian deal with stronger enemies if Lingtian encounters them. For example, right now, we're afraid of the Zhou clan because we're weak. That's why we have no choice but to seek refuge in the Fleeting Time Inn. When Duan Lingtian saw Huan'er's hesitation, he continued to say, if we're stronger than them, we won't have to resort to this. Even if we're standing in front of the Zhou clan, they won't dare to make a move on us. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, a hint of determination flashed in Huan'er's eyes. She closed her eyes again and began to cultivate. As for Duan Lingtian, he pushed open the door and left the room. As soon as Duan Lingtian walked out of the room, a part of the liquid heaven and earth spirit energy followed him out. However, since Duan Lingtian was quick to close the door, the liquid heaven and earth spirit energy quickly dispersed in the air and became thinner. Guest Chen was tending to the plants in the courtyard. When she saw Duan Lingtian, she quickly put down what she was doing and bowed. Her eyes shone brightly as she looked at Duan Lingtian. It was as though she was trying to hint to him that as long as Duan Lingtian was willing, she would obey Duan Lingtian and do anything for him. Go about your business. After Duan Lingtian smiled at Chen, he went to the door and hung the red cloth given to him by the page boy, Little Six. Then he returned and entered another room. Chen, if Little Six is here, come to the door and call for me. Duan Lingtian said to Chen before he entered the room. Yes. Chen replied respectfully. After returning to his room, Duan Lingtian sat on his bed and summoned a gray flame. It was the Chaos Divine Flame. Naturally, in Duan Lingtian's eyes, the Chaos Divine Flame was only a primitive celestial fire. As expected, after my cultivation base has improved, more of the gray flame has come out of the defective metal piece. I can control more of the gray flame now. At this rate, I might be able to control all of the gray flame in the defective metal piece when I become a great overarching golden celestial. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone brightly like the stars in the night sky. End of chapter. Partridge. At this rate, I might be able to control all of the gray flame in the defective metal piece when I become a great overarching golden celestial. Chapter 27-24. When Duan Lingtian had broken through and became a blue sun golden celestial, he discovered he could control more of the gray flame. As for the extra portion of gray flame, it only left the metal fragment after he had a breakthrough in his cultivation base. It fused with the gray flame that he could control previously and became a part of it. At the same time, the gray flame had grown a lot stronger. Now that he had broken through and become an indigo sun golden celestial, Duan Lingtian discovered more of the gray flame had left the defective metal piece and merged with the gray flame that he could control. Based on this, it seemed like when he became a great overarching golden celestial, all of the gray flame would be able to leave the defective metal piece and merge with the gray flame that he could control. At that time, the gray flame would grow even stronger. When I become a great overarching golden celestial, I'll be able to control a mediocre celestial fire. As the gray flame that he could control grew, Duan Lingtian became more and more certain. If Duan Lingtian could control the gray flame in the defective metal piece, the gray flame would definitely be a mediocre celestial fire instead of a primitive celestial fire. At that time, I'll become a mediocre celestial alchemist. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone brightly when he thought about this. Duan Lingtian glanced at the gray flame that he could control again before he extinguished it with just a thought. I wonder if it's a special ability of the Phantom Fox clan or a special ability of her true form, the Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox. Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he looked at Duan Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian recalled how Huan had revealed he had 99 heavenly veins, he could not help but feel shocked. According to the pagoda spirit of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, Hua Lao, the three-legged golden crow, even heavenly emperors in Devata realms can't tell how many heavenly veins a person has. To this day, the only person who can see that I have 99 heavenly veins is Xia Jie, Ker's third uncle from the divine offering land. There was no doubt Xia Jie was stronger than heavenly emperors in the Devata realms. However, she was far weaker than the heavenly emperor. For this reason, Duan Lingtian thought she must be a member of the Phantom Fox clan or a Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox to see through his 99 heavenly veins. Huang isn't as simple as she seems. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could sense that Huan was not as simple as she seemed. Most importantly, Huan had said, "That's right." Like him, she also had 99 heavenly veins. Guest, Brother Little Six is here. Duan Lingtian was still in a daze as he thought about everything that had happened since he met Huan. At this moment, Ching knocked on his door a few times. The two innermost rooms of the Drifting Cloud Inn's courtyard were set up with soundproof formations. Only when someone knocked on the door would there be a gap in the soundproof formation. Otherwise, Ching's voice would not have been heard. Upon hearing Ching's voice, Duan Lingtian opened the door and walked to the entrance of the courtyard. Guest. When Duan Lingtian saw the page boy Little Six again, he could clearly feel the way he looked at him had changed. Moreover, the page boy's attitude toward him was much more respectful than before. Why do I feel like you've become more courteous in just a few days? Duan Lingtian asked teasingly. Guest, please don't tease me. Little Six smiled bitterly and said, everyone in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom knows about what you and the person next to you have done. I didn't expect you and the person next to you to kill an elder of the Zhou clan. Moreover, you even killed him in front of Zhou Shudong, the fourth miss of the Zhou clan. However, it's fortunate that you didn't kill the fourth miss of the Zhou clan. Otherwise, I'm afraid even the fleeting time in wouldn't be able to protect you. When Little Six reached the end of his sentence, he seemed to be relieved on Duan Lingtian's behalf. Why do you say that? Duan Lingtian asked in surprise. 3 days ago, when he first arrived at the Fleeting Time Inn and learned that the inn was not afraid of the Zhou clan, he regretted not killing the culprit, the fourth young lady of the Zhou clan. After all, she was the one who started the whole thing. He did not kill her because he was worried the Zhou clan would act out of desperation if they were forced to stay in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Guest, it's fine if you kill an ordinary member of the Zhou clan. However, you mustn't touch the children of the clan leader of the Zhou clan. After all, they're cousins with the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, and they have a good relationship. This is especially true for the fourth miss of the Zhou clan. She's close to the fourth prince, and the fourth prince dotes on her a lot. He treats her like his own sister. If you kill her, not only will the Zhou clan seek revenge from you, but the fourth prince will also seek revenge from you, Little Six said. Duan Lingtian frowned. The fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow when he heard Little Six's words. He did not expect the fourth miss of the Zhou clan to have such a close relationship with the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. 3 days ago, when he was in the restaurant, he had heard about the 3 most outstanding princes of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. One of them was the fourth prince. Moreover, it was said that the fourth prince was one of the 2 princes with the highest chance of becoming the next emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Little Six nodded. The fourth prince's mother is the clan leader of the Zhou clan. She's also the biological sister of the fourth miss of the Zhou clan's father. Realization dawned on Duan Lingtian. Sir, is there anything you need me to do for you? Little Six asked. The Nian clan of the Fleeting Time Inn should have an auction house, right? Duan Lingtian asked. Little Six nodded. Then he asked with a smile, what's wrong? Are you interested in the auction? Duan Lingtian nodded. The Nian clan's auction house holds a small-scale auction every month and a large-scale auction every year. The small-scale auction will be held in 5 days. Little Six said. Then he added, the Nian clan's auction house is located near the Fleeting Time Inn. If you'd like to participate in the auction, just let me know, and I'll arrange for you to be escorted there by the Nian clan's powerhouses. What kind of items will be auctioned in a small-scale auction? Duan Lingtian asked. He had to learn more about the items before deciding if he wanted to participate in the small-scale auction held by the Nian clan. In his opinion, with such frequent auctions, there probably wouldn't be any rare or precious items. However, the profound grade cultivation method he wanted should not be considered rare in the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Moreover, in the Devata realms, cultivation methods could be copied using memory celestial talismans. Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Little Six's words. It's just as I thought. In the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, profound-grade cultivation methods are not rare. There will be a small auction in 5 days. There will be a total of 7 profound-grade cultivation methods up for auction. Duan Lingtian was relieved. At the same time, he said to Little Six, Little Six, help me make the arrangements. I'm going to attend the small auction held by the Nian family's auction house in 5 days. Not long after Little Six left, Duan Lingtian stayed in the courtyard for a while. Just as he was about to return to his room, a few uninvited guests appeared in his guest room. Dear guest, the fourth prince wishes to see you. A loud and energetic voice rang from outside the courtyard, causing Duan Lingtian, who was about to return to his room, to stop in his tracks. His servant, Qing'e, looked at Duan Lingtian and said, Dear guest, it's the voice of the innkeeper. The innkeeper of the Drifting Cloud Inn? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow. He looked at Qing and said, Qing'e, open the door. After he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian returned to the stone table in the courtyard and sat down calmly. After the door was opened, Qing'e bowed respectfully to the people outside. Soon after, 4 people entered the courtyard. One of them was an old acquaintance of Duan Lingtian's. Of course, even though they were old acquaintances, they had only met once. It was none other than Zhou Shudong, the fourth miss of the Zhou clan. As the saying went, when enemies meet again, their eyes turn red. As soon as Zhou Shudong entered the room, she glared at Duan Lingtian furiously. It was as though she could not wait to tear Duan Lingtian into pieces before burning his bones and scattering his ashes. Zhou Shudong and a young man dressed in a green robe with gold embroidery walked at the front. Behind them were an ordinary-looking old man who gave Duan Lingtian an unfathomable feeling, and a middle-aged man dressed in luxurious robes. Based on Cheng's greeting to the four people, Duan Lingtian could tell the middle-aged man was the innkeeper of the Drifting Cloud Inn. As for the other two people, the young man dressed in a green robe with gold embroidery was tall and sturdy. He was handsome and had an extraordinary bearing. He was most likely Long Xiangyun, the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. The other old man was most likely Long Xiangyun, the fourth prince's bodyguard. Since he was able to stay by the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom's side and protect him, it was clear he was not an ordinary person. At the very least, he was an extraordinary overarching heavenly supreme celestial. After the four people entered the courtyard, Duan Lingtian remained seated at the table. From the beginning until the end, he had no intention of standing up at all. "How dare you?" Zhou Shudong glared at Duan Lingtian and said, "Why aren't you standing up to greet the fourth prince?" "I was wondering who it was. As it turns out, it's Miss Zhou." Chapter 27-25. Dong, don't be rude. Long Xiangyun, the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, and Duan Lingtian looked at each other for a moment before he said to Zhou Shudong, "Sir, we are guests. You can't expect us to keep standing here, right?" Without waiting for Zhou Shudong's reply, Long Xiangyun looked at Duan Lingtian and continued to say, "You're right. Guest?" Duan Lingtian smiled faintly and said unhurriedly, "If the fourth prince is here as a guest, I will naturally welcome you. However, I'm afraid that the fourth prince is not simply here as a guest, right?" Duan Lingtian glanced at Zhou Shudong before he finally retracted his gaze and looked at Long Xiangyun. "Your Highness the fourth prince. I just probed this person, and the feedback given to me by the aura of his flesh and blood is that he is not even 100 years old." As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, an old man's voice transmission rang in Long Xiangyun's ears. It was none other than the old man who had been following Duan Lingtian around to inform him that Duan Lingtian was not even 100 years old. Upon hearing that the purple-clad young man was less than 100 years old, Long Xiangyun's eyes narrowed slightly. His cousin was a blue sun-golden celestial. However, under the circumstances that the person before him didn't utilize an immortal artifact, the person before him was able to blast his cousin flying and injure her with a raise of his hand, and he revealed a strength that was simply not on the same level as his cousin. This was enough to show that this person was at least an indigo sun-golden celestial or even a violet sun-golden celestial. Moreover, he would rather the other party be a violet sun-golden immortal. Because based on the strength they'd revealed, the lower their cultivation, the more terrifying their background would be. Because it meant that they'd grasped an extremely high-level celestial technique or divine ability, and high-level celestial techniques and divine abilities were usually only possessed by formidable powers. "What about his cultivation?" Long Xiangyun asked. "I can't see through his cultivation. He seems to have used some method to hide his cultivation." The old man continued. When Long Xiangyun heard this, Long Xiangyun felt that the person in front of him was becoming more and more mysterious. I apologize. After exchanging glances with Duan Lingtian for a while, he discovered that Duan Lingtian's eyes were calm from beginning to end. He immediately looked at Zhou Shudong and said, just as Zhou Shudong's expression changed slightly and she was about to refute, "Dong, before I find out his background, you'll have to bear with it and cooperate with me. If I confirm that he doesn't have any background, I promise you that I won't let him leave the capital alive." Long Xiangyun's voice transmission entered Zhou Shudong's ears. Upon hearing Long Xiangyun's words, Zhou Shudong realized that her cousin did not really want her to apologize. Instead, he wanted her to cooperate with him to find out more about the purple-clad young man whom she hated to the core. For a moment, she no longer rejected him. She looked at Duan Lingtian and said, "Sorry. Please have a seat, fourth prince." Since the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was so polite, Duan Lingtian, naturally, did not put on airs. He nodded at Long Xiangyun and gestured for him to take a seat. Long Xiangyun smiled and sat down. However, as soon as Long Xiangyun sat down and placed his hand on the stone table began to shake. Duan Lingtian's hand that was placed on the table shook as well. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes. Although he did not sense any hostility from Long Xiangyun, he knew Long Xiangyun was testing him. Long Xiangyun's strength through the stone table was comparable to a yellow-rank great overarching golden celestial. Naturally, Duan Lingtian could see Long Xiangyun had only casually released this energy. It was far from his full strength. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and released a similar amount of energy from his hand. For a moment, he was evenly matched with Long Xiangyun. It was difficult to tell who had the upper hand. A great overarching golden celestial? Long Xiangyun's eyes widened when he saw Duan Lingtian releasing his strength. After a long while, he retracted his strength. Duan Lingtian did the same when he saw Long Xiangyun retracting his strength. "How should I address you, brother?" Long Xiangyun asked Duan Lingtian with a smile on his face after he retracted his strength. It was as though he had met a rare confidant. The old man standing behind him, Zhou Shudong, the innkeeper of the Fleeting Time Inn, and Cheng were stunned when they heard Long Xiangyun calling Duan Lingtian brother. This was the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. But now, he was actually addressing someone he had obviously met for the first time as brother. His cultivation base is at least a yellow-rank great overarching golden celestial. Long Xiangyun said to the old man and Zhou Shudong through voice transmission. Zhou Shudong was slightly taken aback when she heard Long Xiangyun's words. However, the old man's eyes widened in shock when he looked at Duan Lingtian again. He knew the purple-clad young man was not even 100 years old. A great overarching golden celestial who was not even 100 years old? There was no one like that in the Soaring Dragon celestial kingdom. Even in the high-rank celestial kingdoms around the wasteland, there were only a few great overarching golden celestials who were not even 100 years old. However, a great overarching golden celestial who was not even 100 years old was sitting in front of him. Dong. He's not even 100 years old. At the same time, Zhou Shudong's cousin, Long Xiangyun, transmitted his voice to her through voice transmission. Upon hearing this, Zhou Shudong's expression changed drastically when she heard Duan Lingtian was a great overarching golden celestial. A hint of disbelief could be seen in the depths of her eyes. The purple-clad young man whom she had taken a fancy to was actually a great overarching golden celestial who was not even 100 years old? There were many great overarching golden celestials in the Soaring Dragon celestial kingdom. However, there was not a single great overarching golden celestial who was not even 100 years old in the Soaring Dragon celestial kingdom. I'm not used to telling people I'm not familiar with my name. Duan Lingtian replied indifferently to Long Xiangyun's question. If Duan Lingtian had said this in the past, both Zhou Shudong and the old man behind Long Xiangyun would have thought he was seeking death. However, they did not think so at this moment. Instead, they felt it was only right for him to do so. "Then, I'll ask for your name when we're more familiar with each other." A hint of displeasure flashed in the depths of Long Xiangyun's eyes, but he did not show it on his face. Instead, he smiled faintly. Since Duan Lingtian did not reveal his name, Long Xiangyun did not bother to ask about his background. Instead, he took the initiative to chat with Duan Lingtian. At the same time, he found out that Duan Lingtian had just arrived in the Soaring Dragon celestial kingdom. "Brother, you seem to have a companion? I heard from my cousin that she's your younger sister?" Long Xiangyun asked Duan Lingtian in a familiar tone. It was as though he really regarded Duan Lingtian as a brother. "She's not my biological sister, she's my junior sister." Duan Lingtian nodded. Then, he said with a troubled expression on his face, "Speaking of which, I came to the wasteland because of my junior sister. She insisted that I accompany her to the wasteland. Otherwise, she wouldn't give up. She even brought me along to shake off the sect's elders whom the sect leader had assigned to her. Initially, I didn't want to come with her. However, I'm not as strong as her, so she knocked me out and brought me out. When I woke up, I was already in the wasteland." A helpless expression appeared on Duan Lingtian's face when he reached the end of his sentence. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Long Shangyun's eyes lit up slightly. Based on Duan Lingtian's words, he realized that Duan Lingtian's sect was not in the wasteland. Outside of the desolate region, in the large area around the desolate region, it was rare to find a place as backward as the desolate region. In those places, there were more powerhouses, better cultivation environments, and more abundant cultivation resources. Did she become your junior sister because she joined the wasteland celestial kingdom late? Long Shangyun asked tentatively. That's not it. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Apart from the fact that I joined the wasteland celestial kingdom first, she's my junior sister because I'm older than her. However, as soon as she joined the wasteland celestial kingdom, my sect leader took a liking to her and took her in as his last disciple. A hint of envy flashed in Duan Lingtian's eyes when he reached the end of his sentence. However, it was only for a moment before it disappeared. Although it was just a flash, Long Shangyun still managed to catch it. Brother, your junior sister's innate talent is higher than yours. Although Long Shangyun appeared calm on the surface, his heart was in turmoil. Based on what he knew, the white-clad woman was a white-clad woman. The white-clad woman next to the purple-clad young man had the strength to kill the elder of the Zhou clan who was by his cousin's side. The elder of the Zhou clan was an earth-rank great overarching golden celestial. Long Shangyun had asked the old man next to him. According to the old man, the white-clad woman was at least a peak great overarching golden celestial. Naturally, if she had a powerful background and mastered powerful celestial methods and divine abilities, she might only be a heaven-rank great overarching golden celestial. That's right. Otherwise, how could she have been taken in by my sect's senior uncle as his last disciple? Duan Lingtian nodded. Currently, Duan Lingtian seemed to be serious on the surface, and there wasn't the slightest trace of pretense. If Duan Lingtian were on Earth in his previous life, it would not be a problem for him to win the Best Actor award. At the same time, the innkeeper of the Drifting Cloud Inn was also in a state of shock. He had no idea how strong Duan Lingtian was. However, he had discovered through his divine consciousness that Duan Lingtian was not even 100 years old. However, Duan Lingtian had just said the white-clad woman next to him was his junior sister. Moreover, she was younger than him. Based on what he knew. Chapter 27-26. Brother, about the matter 3 days ago, my insensible cousin has offended you. As her cousin, I apologize to you here. I hope that you won't hold a grudge against her and won't hold it against her. Long Xiangyun smiled as he spoke to Duan Lingtian. You're too kind, fourth prince. My junior sister and I only wasted some time on that matter. We didn't suffer any losses. Let's not talk about it. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. I'm relieved to hear that. If you're free, you can come to the Imperial Palace to look for me. As Long Xiangyun spoke, he took out a token and handed it to Duan Lingtian. It was a token used to enter and exit the Imperial Palace of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. One could enter and leave the Imperial Palace as long as one showed it at the entrance. Of course. Duan Lingtian casually put the token away. He had no intention of entering the Imperial Palace to look for Long Xiangyun since he did not want to have anything to do with Long Xiangyun. Although Long Xiangyun seemed to believe Duan Lingtian's words, Duan Lingtian could tell that Long Xiangyun believed him. However, he could tell that Long Xiangyun only believed Long Xiangyun. Long Shangyun only half believed his words. The reason why he didn't fall out with him was mostly because he didn't know his true background. At least, he hadn't found out anything about him yet. Otherwise, Long Xiangyun would definitely have a different attitude. As expected of one of the two most likely candidates to become the next emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Not only is the fourth prince smart, but he also knows how to be patient. However, this is good as well. At the very least, he won't make a move on me before he figures out my background. In fact, he might even warn the Zhou clan not to make a move on me. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Brother, I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. I look forward to seeing you in the Imperial Palace. At that time, let's drink until we're drunk. Long Xiangyun said to Duan Lingtian with a smile as he stood up. All right. Duan Ling Tian nodded. However, he did not stand up. He continued to sit there and respond to Long Xiangyun's words. Seeing this, Long Xiangyun was not angry. He called out to Zhou Shudong and left with the old man. He did not even greet the innkeeper of the Fleeting Time Inn. "Sir, I'm Wang Peng, the owner of Fleeting Time Inn. I couldn't stop the fourth prince from coming to see you." After Long Xiangyun and the others left, the innkeeper of the Fleeting Time Inn, the middle-aged man, bowed and apologized to Duan Ling Tian. His tone was filled with humility. However, he wasn't sure if the person in front of him had such an exaggerated background. However, based on the fact that Duan Ling Tian dared to act so casually in front of the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, even if Duan Ling Tian was deliberately mystifying, the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom had no choice but to admit defeat. Therefore, he now completely regarded the other party as someone with a powerful background. Duan Ling Tian responded indifferently. He didn't look at Wang Peng at all. He stood up and went back to his room, closing the door in Wang Peng's face. Upon seeing this, Wang Peng did not dare to be angry. Instead, he felt it was only natural. After all, if Duan Ling Tian's background was as exaggerated as Wang Peng had said, then Duan Ling Tian had the right to act this way. Take good care of this guest. Before Wang Peng left, he specially instructed the servant girl, Cheng, and the latter repeatedly agreed. After Wang Peng left, Cheng looked at the room Duan Ling Tian had entered and the room where Huan was in closed-door cultivation. Her eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. She did not expect this. She did not expect the first guest she served in the Fleeting Time Inn would be treated in such a manner. After all, the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was one of the three most outstanding princes of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. He was also one of the two most beloved sons of the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Even such an existence was so cautious in front of the customer she was serving. This made Cheng even more certain that the guest she served was not simple. Meanwhile, Long Xiangyun, the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, brought Zhou Shudong back to the palace. After leaving his residence, he said solemnly to Zhou Shudong, "Don't provoke that person in the future." "Cousin, do you believe him?" Zhou Shudong asked. "I can't say that I believe him completely, but I can't say that I don't believe him completely. If he's just bluffing, it won't matter even if I kill him. However, if he's telling the truth, killing him will only bring me endless trouble. It's precisely because of this that unless we can confirm his background, otherwise, this person can't be easily provoked. At the very least, I won't provoke him. After all, I've personally tested his strength. There's no doubt he's a great overarching golden celestial. Moreover, I'm certain he's not even 100 years old. A great overarching golden celestial who's not even 100 years old, unless he has a fortuitous encounter, he's most likely from a powerful force. Moreover, even if that force is weak, it shouldn't be weaker than the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom." Long Xiangyun said in a deep voice. There were nearly 20 princes in the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. The fact that Long Xiangyun stood out among the 20 princes was enough to prove he was not an ordinary person. Long Xiangyun did not dare to make a move on Duan Ling Tian unless he was completely confident. As the saying went, cleverness leads to the downfall of cleverness. Long Xiangyun was currently in this situation. However, he had no other choice. Upon hearing Long Xiangyun's words, Zhou Shudong fell silent. Don't think that I'm just scaring you. Unless we can find out more about that person's background, I don't think it's just me, or even the Zhou clan, who should act rashly against him. Long Xiangyun continued to say, based on what we're certain of, he's not from the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Based on what he said, he's from a sect outside the wasteland. I don't have the ability to verify this. Even the Zhou clan and the imperial family can't verify this. Long Xiangyun paused for a moment. Unless what? Zhou Shudong asked. After all, the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect is one of the three major celestial sects in the wasteland. The Thousand Spiders celestial sect is very powerful and has a vast intelligence network. Your clan and the imperial family can't compare to them. Zhou Shudong-er's eyes lit up. Third sister? Zhou Shudong's eyes lit up when she heard Long Xiangyun's words. However, her eyes soon dimmed. But third sister left the wasteland with her master a few years ago. I heard she came back last month. Long Xiangyun smiled. Third sister came back last month? Zhou Shudong's eyes lit up again. Then I'll go look for her. Zhou Shudong's third sister was the other daughter of the clan leader of the Zhou clan. The head of the Zhou family had a total of 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters. Among them, Zhou Shudong was the youngest. In front of Zhou Shudong was a daughter who was younger than the 2 sons. She was ranked 3rd. The daughter of the Zhou clan was known as 3rd Miss Zhou. She was the pride of the Zhou clan and the entire Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. After all, she was the most talented person in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom in the past 1,000 years. Moreover, she had joined the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect and became the last disciple of the former sect leader of the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect. Since the current sect leader of the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect was a disciple of the former sect leader of the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect, she was the junior sister of the current sect leader of the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect. In the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, there were 3 outstanding princes. However, only 2 of them were favored by the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom and were most likely to become the next emperor. The reason why this happened was because of this. The remaining prince had a complicated background. Even the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was not certain if the prince was his biological son. Because of that, the Emperor treated him differently from the other princes. Even if he was as outstanding as the 4th prince and the 7th prince. He was the 13th prince. Long Feiyun. Unknown origin. He claims to be from a sect outside the wasteland. He's not even 100 years old, but his junior sister, who's younger than him, is strong enough to kill an Earth-rank great overarching golden celestial of the Zhou clan with ease. In the 13th prince's temporary residence in the imperial palace, a handsome young man dressed in a white robe with golden edges sat in a pavilion that was surrounded by flowers and plants. He looked at the middle-aged man standing in front of the pavilion as he muttered to himself. Even 4th brother is afraid of him and doesn't dare to touch him? Suddenly, the handsome youth raised his head, revealing a handsome and fair face. He looked at the person outside the pavilion and asked. The handsome young man's skin was as fair as jade, comparable to that of a woman. However, there was a hint of masculinity between his eyebrows. With the contradictory combination of feminine and masculine, anyone with a normal memory would be able to engrave him deeply in their mind as long as they looked at him. Yes, Your Highness. Outside the pavilion, the middle-aged man stood there respectfully. It was also because Duan Ling Tian was not here. Otherwise, Duan Ling Tian would have recognized the middle-aged man immediately. The middle-aged man was none other than Wang Peng, the innkeeper of the Fleeting Time Inn. Also, Wang Peng continued to say, "That guest has informed my subordinates that he's going to participate in the small auction held by the Nian clan 5 days from now." He's interested in that auction? The 13th prince was slightly surprised. "I'm not sure." Wang Peng said. "Make arrangements." "Make the arrangements? 5 days from now, I will go and meet this mysterious person who can scare off my 4th brother with just a few words," the 13th prince said. Wang Peng replied respectfully. "You may leave." Chapter 27:27. Time continued to pass by. In just a blink of an eye, it was time for the monthly auction held by the Nian clan's auction house. In the Fleeting Time Inn, a group of people walked out of the door. There was an old man or a middle-aged man walking in front of them. They were all expressionless as they escorted the group of people to the Nian clan's auction house. 2 of them were overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Fleeting Time Inn. The other 2 were also overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian clan's auction house. The people being escorted by the 4 of them were all guests of the Fleeting Time Inn. Most of them had chosen to stay in the Fleeting Time Inn in order to avoid being hunted down by their enemies. It was all for the sake of the inn's protection. "Brother, did you offend anyone?" Duan Ling Tian was originally walking quietly at the back of the group of people when suddenly, a young man slowed down his footsteps and waited for Duan Ling Tian to catch up before turning to look at him and asking curiously. "I didn't offend anyone." Duan Ling Tian said indifferently. "You didn't offend anyone? Why are you staying in the Fleeting Time Inn? Brother, isn't that a little too extravagant?" The young man was surprised. However, a hint of doubt could be seen in his eyes. Clearly, he did not believe Duan Lingtian's words. "It's all right." Duan Lingtian said indifferently. "Brother, do you know why I'm staying in the Fleeting Time Inn?" The young man chuckled with a smug expression on his face. "Why?" Duan Lingtian was about to say that he was not interested. However, after thinking about it, he decided to listen to the young man's story since he had nothing to do along the way. "It's because after I took the virginity of the young miss of the Qi clan, I killed her. Now, the Qi clan wants to kill me as soon as possible. I took the supreme celestial stones from the young miss of the Qi clan's spatial ring and squandered them in the Fleeting Time Inn." The young man smiled smugly. "Speaking of which, that happened a few months ago. Do you see that old man over there? That's the patriarch of the Qi family. He's been waiting outside the tavern every day, waiting for me to exact his revenge." The young man pointed into the distance as he spoke to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian looked over. In the distance, there was an old man in mourning clothes and a few middle-aged men in mourning clothes standing at the side. The old man's eyes were red as he stared at the young man who was talking to him. Through the old man's eyes, Duan Lingtian could clearly sense the deep-seated hatred in the old man's heart. When he looked at the old man, he clearly saw that the old man's gaze was also filled with hostility. "Why did you take that Miss Qi's body? Did she offend you? Did the Qi family offend you?" Duan Lingtian asked. It had been 8 days since Duan Lingtian arrived in the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. Apart from cultivating in seclusion for the first 3 days and successfully breaking through to an indigo sun golden celestial, he did not enter seclusion again. Instead, he left the Fleeting Time Inn and stayed in the halls of several restaurants for a few days. 5 days ago, the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom had arrived. After a brief confrontation, he was no longer worried that the fourth prince or the Zhou clan would seek revenge on him. After all, he knew the fourth prince and the Zhou clan would not act rashly before they investigated his background. For this reason, he could leave the Fleeting Time Inn without any worries. After wandering around for a few days, he had gained a better understanding of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom and the capital. He also gained a better understanding of the major forces in the capital. However, he had never heard of the Qi family. Most likely, the Qi family was just a small family in the capital of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. Otherwise, he would have heard of them. The eldest miss of the Qi family didn't offend me, and the Qi family didn't offend me as well. I just thought the eldest miss of the Qi family was pretty and a virgin, so I made a move on her. I can't afford to offend the other major clans, but I'm not afraid of the Qi family." The young man chuckled as though he was very proud of his actions. "I can't go against the Qi family on my own, so I can only hide in the Fleeting Time Inn for the time being. In half a month's time, my brother will bring someone to pick me up. With the strength of my brother and his people, the Qi family won't be able to do anything to me. They can only watch as I leave the Fleeting Time Inn and the capital." The young man's tone grew more and more smug as he continued to say, "In the end, the supreme celestial stones I spent in the Fleeting Time Inn belong to the eldest miss of the Qi family. Moreover, when I leave the inn, she still has a lot of supreme celestial stones left in her spatial ring. When my brother comes and I leave the Fleeting Time Inn and the capital safely, the clan leader of the Qi family will be so angry that he'll vomit blood." The young man looked at the clan leader of the Qi family in the distance with a smug expression on his face. "Bastard!" The clan leader of the Qi family was so infuriated by the young man's smug expression that he wanted to kill him, but he was stopped by the people behind him. He could only glare at the young man with bloodshot eyes as though he wanted nothing more than to gnaw on the young man's bones and drink his blood. When Duan Ling Tian saw the frenzied expression on the clan leader of Qi clan and the bloodshot eyes of the clan leader of Qi clan, he could not suppress the raging flames of fury in his heart. "Don't you think you've gone overboard?" Duan Ling Tian asked in a low voice. "Overboard?" The young man was taken aback when he heard Duan Ling Tian's words. Then he laughed and said, "Brother, so what if I've gone overboard? In the end, I'm still the winner. Don't tell me the heavens are going to punish me? To be honest, I've already thought of a way out before I made my move. To me, all of this is just a fun game." The smile on the young man's face widened as he spoke. "Since the heavens aren't going to punish you, I'll punish you instead." Duan Ling Tian could no longer suppress the anger in his heart when he heard the young man's words. His celestial origin energy that had been accumulating in his body began to gather in his hand. Swoosh! A scorching sword ray flashed past. It was Duan Ling Tian who had raised his hand and swung his sword. Before the young man could react, his head was separated from his body and he was killed. Swoosh! Swoosh! In the next moment, with just a thought, the young man's severed body flew out from the crowd and landed in front of the few people from the Qi clan. The few people from the Qi clan were dumbfounded. Swoosh! 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 When the two halves of the young man's body landed on the ground, everyone's expression changed drastically. No one would have thought that something like this would happen in the blink of an eye. Boom! Boom! When the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials regained their senses, their celestial origin energies surged out of their bodies. In just a blink of an eye, they appeared in front of Duan Ling Tian. Boom! Boom! When the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials sent by the Nian family were about to attack Duan Ling Tian, the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the fleeting time in made their move as well. Everyone thought the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials were going to attack Duan Ling Tian as well. However, a shocking scene unfolded before everyone's eyes. At this moment, the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the fleeting time in appeared in front of Duan Ling Tian, blocking the path of the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian clan's trading firm. They had no choice but to stop in their tracks. "Both of you, what are you doing?" The two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian family frowned. "Gentlemen, the person who died is no longer under the protection of the fleeting time inn. He has already checked out of the inn." One of the overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the fleeting time inn said to the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian family. This overarching heavenly supreme celestial was the one who was closest to Duan Ling Tian earlier. The conversation between Duan Ling Tian and the young man, as well as the development of the situation, were all seen and heard by his eyes and ears. If he had wanted to, he could have easily stopped Duan Ling Tian from attacking Duan Ling Tian. However, he did not make a move. He did not make a move because the innkeeper of the fleeting time inn had told him and another person that the purple-clad guest was not an ordinary guest. Even the fourth prince would not dare to offend him. Checked out. The two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian family frowned. They found the innkeeper's words ridiculous. If the purple-clad guest had checked out, how could he have enjoyed the privilege of being escorted to the Nian family's estate? "Both of you, this purple-clad guest is not an ordinary person. Even the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom doesn't dare to offend him." When the other overarching heavenly supreme celestial in the fleeting time inn sent a voice transmission to the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials in the Nian clan's trading house, their eyes widened in shock. When they looked at Duan Ling Tian again, a hint of fear could be seen in their eyes. "Both of you, thank you." At the same time, the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian family's estate quickly thanked the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the fleeting time inn. After all, if the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials had not warned them, they would have been in deep trouble. How could they afford to offend someone whom even the fourth prince did not dare to offend? After a brief moment, the four overarching heavenly supreme celestials exchanged a look before they returned to their posts and continued to escort Duan Ling Tian and the others to the Nian family's estate. "Thank you, benefactor. Thank you, benefactor." At the same time, the clan leader of the Qi clan led the members of the Qi clan to kneel and kowtow as they thanked Duan Lingtian. Meanwhile, the other guests of the fleeting time in looked at Duan Lingtian with fear in their eyes. Checked out? Naturally, they did not believe such nonsense. Chapter 27-28. Duan Lingtian walked behind the crowd with his hands clasped behind his back. His face was calm, without joy or sorrow. Even when the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian clan's auction house appeared in front of him and were about to attack him, his expression did not change at all. The reason he was so calm was not because he was confident he could deal with an overarching heavenly supreme celestial, but because he knew the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials in the fleeting time in would definitely not stand idly by. Before killing that young man, Duan Lingtian already knew, as long as the overarching heavenly supreme celestial from fleeting time in did not allow him to kill the young man, he would not be able to kill the young man. And if the other party didn't interfere, it meant that they had tacitly allowed him to kill the young man. Under such circumstances, he was naturally not worried about the consequences of killing the young man. And the truth was just as he thought. When the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian clan's auction house were about to attack him, the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the fleeting time in also appeared before him. However, they were not there to attack him, they were there to protect him. The two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the fleeting time in must have mentioned the fourth prince during that critical moment. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to guess. 5 days ago, the innkeeper of the fleeting time in had witnessed the confrontation between Duan Lingtian and the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom. Due to Duan Lingtian's strength, the fourth prince did not dare to provoke him. And the fact that the fourth prince didn't dare to provoke him was enough to show how extraordinary he was. As long as the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the fleeting time in told the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian clan's auction house, they would not dare to touch Duan Lingtian. Even the fourth prince of the Soaring Dragon's celestial kingdom did not dare to touch him. They were merely two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian clan. Along the way, Duan Lingtian could sense that the guests of fleeting time in were wary of him. Regarding this, he could understand. After all, he had just killed a guest of the fleeting time inn, and he was not punished in any way. In fact, the people of the fleeting time inn were protecting him. "We're here." After about 15 minutes, the overarching heavenly supreme celestial from the Nian clan's auction house said, causing Duan Lingtian and the others to stop in their tracks. They turned to look at the person in front of them. Up ahead, a magnificent house that occupied a vast area appeared before the eyes of Duan Lingtian and the others. At a glance, every single detail of the house was meticulously crafted, and it was too much for the eyes to take in. This is the Nian family auction house? It's quite stylish. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. But this doesn't seem to be the main entrance? At the same time, Duan Lingtian realized that there was no one at the entrance of the Nian family's auction house. At the same time, the door did not seem to match the splendor of the Nian family's auction house. It was more like a small door or a back door. "Everyone, please come in." After the two overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian family's auction house entered the Nian family's auction house, a few attendants from the Nian family's auction house came out and welcomed Duan Lingtian and the others into the Nian family's auction house. Then, they were provided with a private room each. The private rooms in the Nian family's auction house were divided into 3 levels. Duan Lingtian and the others were led to a private room on the 2nd level. It was unknown if it was a coincidence, or if the Nian family's auction house intended this, but Duan Lingtian and the others were led to a private room called Earth Number 1. It was also the one with the best geographical location on the 2nd floor. It was also the one in the middle. The window of the private room faced the auction stage. The Nian family's auction house is quite big. It's bigger than any of the auction houses I've been to before. Duan Lingtian sat in front of the window of the private room and looked at the auction stage and the rows of seats in front of it. He could not help but sigh inwardly. In front of Duan Lingtian was an exquisitely carved wooden table with a tea set placed on top of it. Right now, there was a beautiful servant girl pouring tea for him. "How should I address you, young master?" The servant girl smiled sweetly at Duan Lingtian as she poured tea for him. "My surname is Duan." Duan Lingtian picked up the cup of tea the servant girl had poured for him and took a sip. His eyes lit up immediately. "Good tea." As soon as he took a sip, Duan Lingtian could clearly feel a gentle energy flowing through his 99 heavenly veins. Although it didn't bring any improvement to his cultivation, it gave him a very comfortable feeling. He felt warm all over. "Young Master Duan, this is a tea leaf cultivated by our Nyen clan's third master when he was young. It's called the warm spring tea. Although it's not an immortal tea that can raise one's cultivation base, it can make one feel as if they're bathing in a spring breeze." Duan Lingtian nodded. "Warm spring tea? That's a good name. It lives up to its name." Duan Lingtian nodded. After that, Duan Lingtian chatted with the servant girl for a while and learned about the 3 private rooms in the Nyen clan's auction house. They were the Heaven private room, the Earth private room, and the Human private room. The Heaven private room was only open to members of the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Naturally, members of the imperial family of a high-rank celestial kingdom would also be arranged to stay in the Heaven private room. Therefore, the Heaven private room was basically reserved for the imperial family. The first Earth private room is the best private room for people who aren't members of the imperial family of a high-rank celestial kingdom. Even the emperor of an intermediate-rank celestial kingdom can only stay in the first Earth private room if he comes to the Nyen clan's auction house. I didn't expect the Nyen clan's auction house to arrange for me to stay in the first Earth private room. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Now, he was also 100% sure that he was right. The person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house must have known that he was not afraid of the 4th prince. Otherwise, he would not have arranged for him to be in the first private room. If the person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house finds out that I don't have a powerful background, I'm afraid he'll be so angry that he'll throw me out of this Earth number 1 private room. Duan Lingtian mocked in his heart. He did not expect his act in front of the 4th prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom would bring him so much convenience. But now, this convenience was something he could peacefully enjoy. After all, to a certain extent, apart from acting, he was also taking a risk. Soon, the auction began. On the auction stage, a host appeared. She was a graceful, luxurious, and extremely voluptuous beautiful woman. When she opened her mouth, not only was her voice pleasant to hear, it was also filled with charm. As the beautiful woman spoke, one by one, the auction items were brought to the auction stage and won by the people. An hour later, Duan Lingtian did not make a bid. This was because, up until now, he had yet to see what he wanted. Duan Lingtian continued to drink his tea. At the same time, the maidservant kept pouring tea for him. In the Nyen family's auction house, the Heaven number 1 private rooms were reserved for the imperial family of a high-rank celestial kingdom. Naturally, if an important figure from a powerful celestial kingdom came, he or she would be invited to the Heaven number 1 private room. However, this had never happened in the Nyen family's auction house. This was because no important figure from a powerful celestial kingdom had ever come to the Nyen family's auction house. The Heaven number 1 private room was resplendent. Whether it was the decoration or the layout, it was far superior to Duan Lingtian's Earth number 1 private room. At this moment, a handsome young man was sitting in front of a jade table in the Heaven number 1 private room. The handsome young man was dressed in a white robe with golden edges. His cheeks were fair and rosy, making him look so delicate that even women would be envious of him. However, between his brows, there was a unique masculine aura. When paired with his fair and rosy skin, it formed a contradictory combination, which also added a bit of charm to his entire person. The 2 maidservants standing in front of the jade table stole glances at the handsome young man from time to time. Every time they stole glances at him, they would blush shyly. "Your Highness, the 13th Prince. There's nothing good in this small auction. Why don't you come back after the big auction?" The person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house, an old man in his 70s, said to the handsome young man with a humble smile on his face. "I'm just here to join in the fun. I have no intention of bidding for anything. From the beginning until the end, he did not even look at the person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house at all. The person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house was a profound, overarching heavenly supreme celestial from the Nyen family. He was on a completely different level compared to the 4 yellow-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials who had escorted Duan Lingtian and the others to the auction house. However, the handsome young man seemed to have completely disregarded the person in charge of the auction house. Not only was the handsome young man not displeased, but he felt it was only right. But, just as the person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house was about to say something, the middle-aged man who was resting with his eyes closed behind the handsome young man suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze landed on the person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house. "Your Highness, the 13th Prince, if you need anything, just ask the maidservants to inform me." The person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house felt his scalp go numb when he was stared at by the middle-aged man behind the handsome young man. He shuddered and quickly excused himself. If it was said that the reason he was afraid of the handsome young man was because of the young man's identity. However, the reason he was afraid of the middle-aged man behind the handsome young man was because of the middle-aged man's strength. I didn't expect the person next to the 13th Prince to be a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial. I've only felt that gaze from the old ancestor before. Chapter 27-29. The strongest person in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was only a peak overarching heavenly supreme celestial, and there were only 2 of them. Apart from peak overarching heavenly supreme celestials, there were no more than 10 heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. I know the 4th and 7th princes are accompanied by heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials, but I didn't expect the 13th prince to be accompanied by a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial as well. Logically speaking, this is impossible. After leaving the Sky Number 1 private room, the person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house was still puzzled. Although the 13th prince was not inferior to the 4th and 7th princes in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom and was a hindrance to the 4th and 7th princes, not many people were optimistic about the 13th prince's chances of winning the throne. This was because the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom suspected that the 13th prince was not his biological son. For this reason, he treated the 13th prince coldly. He only cared about the 4th and 7th princes, so he even assigned a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial to protect them. As for the 13th prince, he only gave him an earth-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial. In the past, whenever he met the 13th prince would always be accompanied by the earth stage overarching heavenly supreme celestial. However, this time, he did not see the earth stage overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Instead, he saw a new face. The person next to the 13th prince isn't from the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. I'm certain there's no such person among the 7 heaven stage overarching heavenly supreme celestials in the imperial family. The person in charge of the Nyen clan's auction house was also an elder of the Nyen clan. Therefore, he knew about the 7 heaven stage overarching heavenly supreme celestials of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom through the Nyen clan. But, as he learned, he was not one of the 7 heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. That person should be an expert that the 13th prince found elsewhere. In the end, the person in charge of the Nyen family's auction house could only make such a guess. Once he made that guess, he could not help but gasp. After all, Duan Lingtian was a heaven stage overarching heavenly supreme celestial. In the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, as long as a heaven stage overarching heavenly supreme celestial did not offend the imperial family, they could do whatever they wanted. Even the Nyen clan, a top clan in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, only had 1 heaven realm overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Based on this, one could see how rare heaven realm overarching heavenly supreme celestials were in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Due to this reason, heaven stage overarching heavenly supreme celestials enjoyed a high status in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. But now, he saw a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial whom Duan Ling Tian had never seen before was standing next to the 13th prince. Everyone says that the 13th prince is not simple. In some aspects, even the 4th prince and the 7th prince are far inferior to him. Today, I have seen it for myself. Putting everything else aside, it's impossible for the 4th prince and the 7th prince to recruit a heaven-stage overarching heavenly supreme celestial on their own. The person in charge of the Nian family's auction house thought to himself. At this moment, he realized he had underestimated the 13th prince. We must inform the clan and ask the clan leader to inform the 7th prince. The fact that a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial has appeared by the 13th prince's side and isn't sent by the emperor is enough for the 7th prince to take this seriously. With this thought in mind, the person in charge of the Nian family's auction house took out a communication celestial talisman and sent a message back to the Nian family. Similar to the Zhou family and the 4th prince, the Nian family and the 7th prince had a close relationship as well. After all, the 7th prince's mother was the sister of the clan leader of the Zhou family. If the 4th prince had the backing of the Zhou clan when he fought for the throne, then the 7th prince had the backing of the Nian clan when he fought for the throne. As for the 13th prince, his mother was not from a prominent family in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Instead, she was brought back by the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. For this reason, the 13th prince had no one to rely on and could only rely on himself. Moreover, due to certain matters, the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was not 100% certain that the 13th prince was his biological son. Due to this reason, the 13th prince's path to the throne was fraught with difficulties. Not many people were optimistic about his chances. Although the 13th prince was not inferior to the 4th prince and the 7th prince in all aspects, the 13th prince was still not confident in his chances. The auction continued in the Nian family's auction house. As time passed, Duan Ling Tian, who was in the first earth room, finally obtained the item he had been waiting for. It was a profound-grade cultivation method. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a profound-grade cultivation method called the Cloudy Dream Celestial Technique. A graceful and elegant woman with a seductive voice spoke slowly on the auction stage. As soon as her voice rang in the air, it reverberated throughout the auction house. Even the people in the private rooms could hear her seductive voice clearly. After introducing the Cloudy Dream Celestial Technique, the beautiful woman raised her voice and said, "The starting price of the Cloudy Dream Celestial Technique is 10,000 Supreme Celestial Stones. Each increment must be no less than 5,000 Supreme Celestial Stones." Duan Ling Tian sat by the window of the first earth room. He did not participate in the auction. The price of the profound-grade cultivation method, the Cloudy Dream Celestial Technique, continued to rise. In the end, it was bought by a person in the earth room for 90,000 Supreme Celestial Stones. Congratulations to the guest in the 6th earth room for successfully obtaining the profound-grade cultivation method, the Cloudy Dream Celestial Technique. Next, the 2nd profound-grade cultivation method will be sold. As soon as the auctioneer finished speaking, the 2nd profound-grade cultivation method was displayed before everyone in the auction house. In the end, the profound-grade cultivation method was sold for 90,000 Supreme Celestial Stones. A profound-grade cultivation method for 90,000 Supreme Celestial Stones isn't expensive at all. In the first earth room, Duan Ling Tian, who had yet to make his move, was not in a hurry at all when he saw the 2 profound-grade cultivation methods being taken away. He sat there calmly with a calm expression on his face. It was as though he could remain calm even if Mount Tai were to collapse in front of him. There were 2 reasons he had yet to make a move. Firstly, there were 5 profound-grade cultivation methods left. Secondly, Duan Ling Tian did not like the 2 profound-grade cultivation methods. Although the Xian-grade cultivation methods were similar, there were still some small differences. For example, the first profound-grade cultivation method would subtly change the characteristics of one's celestial origin energy when one cultivated it. It would make one's celestial origin energy gentle, making it more suitable for people who walked the path of gentleness. On the other hand, The second profound grade cultivation method was the opposite of the first profound grade cultivation method. Duan Lingtian did not like either of the two profound grade cultivation methods. He preferred the cultivation method that allowed one to temper one's celestial origin energy to be both gentle and firm. After the two profound grade cultivation methods were sold, the fifth profound grade cultivation method finally satisfied Duan Lingtian's desire. Due to this reason, he also began to bid for it. Moreover, he was the first one to bid. 10,000 supreme celestial stones. After Duan Lingtian placed his bid, he waited for the others to raise their bids before he followed suit and bid as well. After all, apart from the first two profound grade cultivation methods that were sold for 90,000 supreme celestial stones each, the remaining two profound grade cultivation methods were sold for 80,000 supreme celestial stones each. For this reason, Duan Lingtian did not think he would be able to obtain the profound grade cultivation method with just 10,000 supreme celestial stones. Unless, of course, everyone else was mute at this moment. 15,000 supreme celestial stones. It did not take long for someone to make a bid. It was someone from the auction house. The people in the other earth rooms shuddered when they heard the bid. Based on that voice, the person in the first earth room seems to be the person who killed another guest of the Fleeting Time Inn before coming to the Nyen clan's auction house. The fact that he's protected by the Fleeting Time Inn after killing another guest means that he's not a simple person. Otherwise, the Fleeting Time Inn wouldn't have protected him at the risk of ruining their reputation. We can't afford to offend this person. We can't afford to offend him. The people in the earth rooms were all from the Fleeting Time Inn with Duan Lingtian. After all, they had witnessed Duan Lingtian killing another guest of the Fleeting Time Inn and coming out unscathed. Therefore, they were certain Duan Lingtian was not someone they could afford to offend. For this reason, none of them dared to make a bid against Duan Lingtian. 30,000 supreme celestial stones. After Duan Lingtian made his bid for the third time, no one made a bid for the third time. The group of people in the auction hall didn't make a sound because they had limited financial resources and couldn't afford to pay a higher price. Now, many people raised their heads to look at the earth boxes, wanting to see if the people in the other earth boxes were competing with the people in the first earth box. However, even after a long time, it was as if the people in the other earth boxes were completely silent at this moment. What's going on in the other earth rooms? Why aren't they bidding? That's a profound grade cultivation method we're talking about. Even if it's sold on the black market at a low price, I'm sure it can be sold for 60,000 to 70,000 supreme celestial stones. The people in the earth rooms are more than capable of buying it and reselling it. That's true. Why aren't they bidding? This is a free opportunity to earn celestial stones. The auction house was in an uproar for a while, but the people in the other earth rooms still did not make a bid. It seems like the person in the first earth room isn't simple. Isn't that obvious? If the person in the first earth room is an ordinary person, why aren't the people in the other earth rooms bidding? After all, the people in the other earth rooms haven't made a bid since the first time he made a bid. Soon after, many people in the auction house speculated that the person in the first earth room was not simple. At the very least, the people in the other earth rooms did not dare to bid against him. Chapter 2730. Earlier, when Duan Lingtian bid 10,000 supreme celestial stones, another person in the auction house bid 15,000 supreme celestial stones. When Duan Lingtian bid 20,000 supreme celestial stones, another person in the auction house bid 25,000 supreme celestial stones. At this moment, when the two people who had bid with Duan Lingtian saw that the earth box had become completely silent, their expressions changed drastically. At the same time, their hearts were filled with anxiety. They were afraid the person in the first earth room would cause trouble for them after the auction ended. After all, based on the current situation, the person in the auction house was not ordinary. After all, the person in the first earth room was clearly not an ordinary person. What a joke! If he was an ordinary person, how could the people in the earth room be so quiet? At the same time, the group of people in the human grade rooms who were about to continue bidding with Duan Lingtian shut their mouths obediently. They did not dare to make any rash moves. Although the people in the human room were more or less powerful than the people in the auction house, they were not as powerful as the people in the earth room. Anyone with a bit of status would at least be arranged to be in an earth box. For this reason, when the people in the human room saw that the people in the earth room were silent, they did not dare to make a sound. The person in the first earth room is bidding 30,000 supreme celestial stones for the profound grade cultivation method, the dark nether fusion tactic. Is there anyone else? The alluring voice of the beautiful woman resounded in the auction house. 30,000 supreme celestial stones going once. 30,000 supreme celestial stones going twice. Just as the beautiful woman was about to bid again, the profound grade cultivation method, the dark nether fusion tactic, would belong to Duan Ling Tian. There seems to be someone in the first heaven room. The window there is open. There must be someone in there. I wonder which prince or prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom is in there. The princes of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom rarely come to the Nyen clan's auction house. I think it must be a prince. I'm afraid only ordinary princes would come to a small-scale auction held by the Nyen clan's auction house. However, even an ordinary prince wouldn't be afraid of the person in the first earth room. I wonder if the person in the first heaven VIP room will participate in the auction for this mysterious grade cultivation technique. As some sharp-eyed people in the auction hall opened their mouths, most of the people in the auction hall raised their heads and fixed their eyes on the heavenly number 1 box with its window open. The first heaven room? Someone from the imperial family actually came to a small-scale auction held by the Nyen clan's auction house. Duan Ling Tian, who was in the first heaven room, was surprised. However, he was not worried that the person would bid against him would bid for the profound grade cultivation method, the profound grade cultivation method, the dark nether fusion tactic. The profound grade cultivation method was the profound grade cultivation method was the nether fusion tactic? Duan Ling Tian, who was the profound grade cultivation at the most? It would not be worth it if he bid more than that. I didn't expect that not a single one of the fleeting Timon's guests would bid against me after I killed one of their guests on my way here. This was something Duan Ling Tian did not expect as well. Listening to the discussions in the auction hall, he was also a little curious as to whether the person in the first private room would bid against him. However, after a long time, the person in the first heaven room remained silent even though the beautiful woman on the stage tried to stall for time. 30,000 supreme celestial stones going thrice. The beautiful woman didn't dare delay any longer when she noticed that she had delayed for a long time. She announced the owner of the profound grade cultivation method, "Congratulations to the guest in the first earth room for obtaining the mid-grade cultivation method, the nether fusion technique, for 30,000 top-grade celestial stones." He had obtained a profound grade cultivation method with 30,000 supreme celestial stones. Needless to say, Duan Ling Tian had profited this time. He didn't bid? Many people in the auction house were surprised and puzzled. Isn't that normal? The guest in the first heaven room is from the imperial family. It's only natural that he wouldn't be interested in a profound grade cultivation method. As for selling the profound grade cultivation method to the black market, the imperial family wouldn't stoop to such a low price. You have a point. I wonder, which prince is in the number 1 private room? When the attention of the crowd in the auction hall shifted to the heavenly box number 1, Zhang Tai's expression changed. Long Fei Yun, the 13th prince, was sitting in the first heaven room with a surprised expression on his face. He is actually interested in a profound level cultivation technique? A disciple from a powerful sect outside the wasteland is interested in a profound grade cultivation method? That's impossible, right? Is it possible that he's not a disciple from a powerful sect outside the yellow wasteland? Long Fei Yun muttered to himself as he tapped the jade bracelet in front of him with his hand. Naturally, he didn't come to the Nyen clan's auction house for this small auction. Normally, there wouldn't be anything that could interest him in a small auction. He came for Duan Ling Tian. Although the Nyen clan had a close relationship with the 7th prince, the innkeeper of the fleeting time inn was one of Long Fei Yun's men. He had learned about the incident between the 4th prince and Duan Ling Tian earlier than the 7th prince. For this reason, he was interested in Duan Ling Tian. For this reason he came to the Nyen clan's auction house today. The auction continued. Duan Lingtian was not interested in any of the items in the auction house. He had already achieved his goal of coming to the auction house today. As time passed, the auction was about to come to an end. Duan Lingtian was about to leave the fleeting time in with the guests of the Nyen clan's auction house. Suddenly, a voice rang from outside the first earth room. Young Master Duan, this is Elder Yu, the person in charge of the Nyen clan's auction house. When Duan Lingtian heard the voice and looked towards the door of the room, the servant girl at the side had already informed Duan Lingtian of the identity of the person outside. The person in charge of the Nyen clan's auction house? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow. He was curious about the visitor's purpose. Open the door. Duan Lingtian ordered the maidservant. Upon receiving the order, the maidservant immediately opened the door and bowed respectfully at the old man standing outside the room. Elder Yu. When Duan Lingtian turned to look at the old man had already entered the room. He bowed slightly at Duan Lingtian and said, Guest, I'm the person in charge of the auction house. His Highness, the 13th Prince, wishes to see you. What do you think? The 13th Prince? Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed. He knew about the 13th Prince of the Soaring Dragon's Celestial Kingdom. He knew the 13th Prince was in no way inferior to the 4th and 7th Princes. In fact, the 13th Prince was even more outstanding than the 4th and 7th Princes. If it were not for the fact that the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon's Celestial Kingdom disliked the 13th Prince, he would definitely be able to compete with the 4th and 7th Princes for the throne. It seems like the person in the first Earth Room is the 13th Prince. Duan Lingtian had also guessed the 13th Prince's identity. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded at the old man. After the old man received Duan Lingtian's permission, he immediately walked out of the room and stood by the door. Then, he respectfully made an inviting gesture and said to the handsome young man standing at the side, Your Highness, the 13th Prince, please enter. At the same time, Duan Lingtian also saw the famous 13th Prince of the Soaring Dragon's Celestial Kingdom. It's just as the rumors say. The 13th Prince is very handsome. Moreover, he's handsome with both strength and gentleness. After a while, Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze to the middle-aged man standing behind the 13th Prince. The middle-aged man had an ordinary appearance, but when he stood behind the 13th Prince, he seemed as steady as Mount Tai. Moreover, he emitted a peculiar aura. Although it was not obvious, Duan Lingtian could still sense it. The reason why he could sense it was because he had subconsciously come into contact with this aura before, so he had a very deep impression of it. This aura, it's similar to Murong Bing's. Duan Lingtian had come into contact with this kind of aura from Murong Bing whom he had slept with before. Moreover, he was certain this was not an ordinary aura. It was an aura that was unintentionally emitted when one's cultivation base had reached a certain stage. My name is Long Fei Yun, the 13th Prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. How should I address you, brother? Long Fei Yun greeted Duan Lingtian with a smile after he entered the room. My surname is Duan. Duan Lingtian nodded at Long Fei Yun before he pointed at the chair in front of the table. 13th Prince, please have a seat. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Long Fei Yun did not stand on ceremony and sat down. He glanced at the person in charge of the Nyen clan's auction house and said indifferently, Bring your people out. I have something to say to Brother Duan in private. Yes, Your Highness. The person in charge of the Nyen clan's auction house replied respectfully before he left the room with his servant. Brother Duan, I've heard about you since a few days ago. You're the first person in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom to make the 4th miss of the Zhou clan suffer such a huge loss. When Long Fei Yun looked at Duan Lingtian again, it was as though he was talking to an old friend. It seems like you have a subordinate in the fleeting time inn. Duan Lingtian said meaningfully as he looked at Long Fei Yun. Although his relationship with Zhou Shudong was no secret in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, not many people knew he was in the fleeting time inn, let alone recognize him. Not to mention the others, just the guests of the fleeting time inn who came with him to the auction house were a group of people. Chapter 2731. Naturally, when Duan Ling Tian said the 13th prince had planted someone in the Fleeting Time Inn, he did not mean that the 13th prince had planted someone in the Fleeting Time Inn as a guest. Instead, it was the 13th prince who had planted someone in the inn. The Fleeting Time Inn was one of the most important properties of the Nian clan. Moreover, the Nian clan had a close relationship with the 7th prince of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Naturally, they would not serve the 13th prince. For this reason, there was only one possibility. The 13th prince, Long Fei Yun, must have planted a subordinate in the Fleeting Time Inn who was privy to a lot of information. To tell you the truth, Brother Duan, the innkeeper of the Fleeting Time Inn, Wang Peng, is one of my subordinates. Long Fei Yun smiled faintly when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Oh! Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow. He asked in surprise, "The 13th prince is so honest with me. Aren't you worried I'll spread the news? If I spread the news, even if the innkeeper of the Fleeting Time Inn doesn't die, he'll at least be skinned alive, right? Moreover, from now on, you'll have one less informant in the Nian clan." Duan Lingtian looked at Long Fei Yun meaningfully when he finished speaking. "Will you?" Long Fei Yun asked with a smile on his face. "I'm not that bored." Duan Lingtian shrugged. He had only come to the capital of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom to find a place to stay. He would leave when he found a place to go. To Duan Lingtian, the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom and the Wasteland were just a stepping stone for him to ascend to the spirit overarching heaven. He needed to leave the Wasteland and head to a wider world to seek higher cultivation bases as quickly as possible. He only had 1,000 years of time. If he was not strong enough after 1,000 years, it would be difficult for him to rescue his wife, Kerr, and his family and friends even if he managed to enter the Divine Offering Land. Although he had only ascended to the spirit overarching heaven for less than 10 years, he had already attained his current cultivation base. However, he knew this was only the beginning. This was just the beginning. The road ahead would only get harder and harder. This was because the higher one's cultivation was, the slower one's speed of improvement would be. Currently, he had not even become a great overarching golden celestial. His cultivation base was nothing in the Wasteland and the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, let alone the spirit overarching heaven. Although Duan Lingtian's strength could not be compared to his cultivation base, he was still far from being a match for an overarching heavenly supreme celestial. There was no lack of overarching heavenly supreme celestials in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. He had seen a few overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the Nian clan, let alone the overarching heavenly supreme celestials from the imperial family. If any of these overarching heavenly supreme celestials attacked him, he would not be able to withstand their attacks even if he used the Devata artifact, the 7 Orifices exquisite sword. That's why I told you the truth, because I believed that Brother Duan wouldn't be so bored. Long Feiyun said with a smile. Brother Duan. Long Feiyun's eyes glinted as he said bluntly, based on what I know, you're from a powerful sect outside the Wasteland. I wonder why you're interested in a profound grade cultivation method? Is there something special about the profound grade cultivation method, the dark nether fusion tactic? Long Feiyun was beginning to have doubts. The purple-clad young man in front of him did not have a powerful background. He was merely trying to scare his fourth brother so that his fourth brother would not dare to act on behalf of Zhou Shudong, the fourth young miss of the Zhou clan. He's indeed not even 100 years old. At this moment, a voice transmission rang in Long Feiyun's ears. It was from the middle-aged man standing behind him. As a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial, the middle-aged man's divine consciousness was much stronger than Duan Lingtian. For this reason, Duan Lingtian did not notice the middle-aged man's divine consciousness when he probed Duan Lingtian with his divine consciousness. Moreover, he should know how to conceal his cultivation base. Initially, I wanted to probe his soul with my divine consciousness to confirm his cultivation base. However, before I could get close to his soul, my divine consciousness disappeared. The middle-aged man continued to speak to Long Feiyun through voice transmission. The celestial origin energy in Devata realms was very mysterious. It existed in the body of a celestial, But no matter how powerful a celestial was, it would be difficult to probe a celestial's cultivation base with their divine consciousness. Only when the celestial origin energy was released would one be able to roughly guess a celestial's cultivation base. This was due to the existence of the heavenly veins. For this reason, in the Devata realms, one had to probe a celestial's cultivation base through the soul, since the increase in one's cultivation base would be accompanied by the increase in one's soul. This was similar to cultivators in the mundane realms. A wave of energy surged out from the table in front of Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes as he placed his hand on the table. His celestial origin energy surged out of his hand and collided with the wave of energy, suppressing it. The 13th prince's hobby is similar to the 4th prince's. At the same time, he looked at Long Fei Yun meaningfully and said, "Don't worry, Long Fei Yun won't be able to defeat you." A great overarching golden celestial. A great overarching golden celestial who's not even 100 years old. Long Fei Yun was still in a daze when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He did not expect the purple-clad young man who was not even 100 years old to be a great overarching golden celestial. Based on his probing earlier, he was 100% certain the young man was not weak at all. He was certain the young man was as strong as a yellow-rank great overarching golden celestial. Most importantly, the young man was not weak at all. He was certain the young man was not even 100 years old. No wonder fourth brother is wary of him. As it turns out, it's not only because of his junior sister who's younger than him, it's also because of him. I've never seen his junior sister before, so I'm not sure if she's strong enough to kill an Earth-rank great overarching golden celestial from the Zhou clan, even though she's not even 100 years old. However, this young man with the surname Duan is indeed not even 100 years old. He's at least a yellow-rank great overarching golden celestial. When Long Fei Yun looked at Duan Lingtian again, he could not hide the shock in his eyes. At this moment, he no longer doubted Duan Lingtian's identity. He did not think it was important since Duan Lingtian was a great overarching golden celestial, even though he was not even 100 years old. This made him think of something else. Perhaps I can make a deal with him. With this thought in mind, Long Fei Yun's eyes suddenly lit up like two bright stars in the night sky. "Brother Duan, I have an earth-grade cultivation method. I wonder if you're interested?" Long Fei Yun asked bluntly as he stared at Duan Lingtian with burning eyes. An earth-grade cultivation method. Duan Lingtian's eyes widened in shock when he heard Long Fei Yun's words. However, it did not take long before he regained his senses. 13th Prince, you're talking about the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom's inherited cultivation method, right? Based on Duan Lingtian's knowledge, the inherited cultivation method of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. The only known Earth-grade cultivation method in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was the inherited cultivation method of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. As far as I know, only the direct descendants of the imperial family are allowed to cultivate the legacy cultivation method of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Moreover, there's a rule in the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom that anyone who imparts the legacy cultivation method to outsiders, regardless of their status, will be hunted down by the imperial family. Duan Lingtian said indifferently, 13th Prince, are you trying to test me to see if I'm interested in the Earth-grade cultivation method? If I'm interested in the Earth-grade cultivation method, coupled with the fact that I bid for a profound-grade cultivation method, does that mean you're certain I'm not from a powerful sect outside the wasteland? In Duan Lingtian's opinion, Duan Lingtian must be interested in Duan Lingtian. This must be Long Fei Yun's way of testing him. Duan Lingtian's motive was just as Duan Lingtian had said. He bid for the profound-grade cultivation method because of other reasons. However, if he wanted the Earth-grade cultivation method as well, things might not be as simple as it seemed. How could a person from a powerful sect outside the wasteland, a great overarching golden celestial who was not even 100 years old, not have a decent Earth-grade cultivation method? Brother Duan, you're overthinking things. Long Fei Yun shook his head when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. In my opinion, it doesn't matter if you're from a powerful sect outside the wasteland or not. Naturally, I hope you're not from a powerful sect outside the wasteland. If that's the case, you might be interested in the Earth grade cultivation method in my hands. Here, I want to clarify something to you, Brother Duan. The Earth grade cultivation method I'm talking about is not the inherited method of the imperial family. I'm not afraid of your teasing, Brother Duan. I haven't even come into contact with the inherited cultivation method of the imperial family, let alone cultivate it. Long Feiyun clenched his fists tightly when he spoke. One could vaguely see the veins on the back of his hands throbbing. It was clear he was very agitated at this moment. It's because my father thinks I'm not his biological son. When he spoke again, Long Feiyun's eyes first flashed with a dim light, then a sharp light flashed in them. The 13th prince doesn't cultivate the inherited cultivation method of the imperial family? Duan Lingtian was shocked. He knew the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom did not like the 13th prince because he was unsure if the 13th prince was his biological son. However, he did not expect the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom to be so bold. He did not expect the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom would not pass the inherited cultivation method of the imperial family to the 13th prince just because he suspected the 13th prince was not his biological son. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.